There's audio, Nerdette's newsstand. There's audio. I think so. Anyway, welcome everybody. I'm glad everyone's here. As you can see, there is this release in the matter of the death of Gabrielle Venora Petito. I, Brett Blue, MD, coroner of Teton County, Wyoming, hereby find the cause and manner of death to be cause death by manual strangulation, throttling. So yeah. So that's interesting. And infuriating. I was in the Dad Challenge podcasts live earlier, where he went over the press release or the press conference with the coroner live. If you're not subscribed to the Dad Challenge podcast, make sure that you do. Also, like and subscribe to this channel as well, please. Because this guy is still out there. This little weasel, poor excuse for a man, is still running around free out there, doing whatever he wants. And having this new information, I can't describe to you how angry I am. And it's weird because I didn't think that I would feel any more angry about the situation than I already was. But the way that sounds now, I don't know. During the press conference, which we'll go over some of that. During the press conference, someone asked if it was done with a weapon or with his hands, and the coroner couldn't answer that. But the way that sounds in that statement there sounds like with his hands, right? I mean, that's not for sure, but that's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. I'd say more than half. I'd say more than half. Right. That's what that means to me, right? I mean, am I crazy? That's what I think too. Now, if it was done with a weapon, I would say it was premeditated, but I don't think that it was premeditated. I think that it was a crime of passion, as they say. Considering all the factors, right? Because we're gonna explore this. We're gonna speculate a little bit. But it's definitely. I think it's pretty safe to assume that it's a DV type situation that took place here, and I mean, big hands. I don't know about all that. He's a small guy, but he was definitely bigger than her. And yes, strangulation is definitely something very, very personal. I don't know the actual Webster's definition for that, but I would think that it is, grabbing with your hands by the neck. It's what it sounds like to me. Yeah, so if I'm speculating here, considering all the facts that we have, right? If the facts that we have are he was known to threaten her with leaving her somewhere and taking her van. This is a mind game that he would play with her, and also in what I believe to be a way of obviously verbal and mental abuse, but also a way to to exude power over her. He felt an entitlement of what was hers. And we know this because he took her van like it was his own and drove it back to Florida, back to mommy and daddy's, who have shut down, got him a lawyer, and refused to cooperate with law enforcement and refused to even answer texts or calls from Gabby's family, neither the Petitos or the Schmidts. So I'm holding his family, the Dirty Laundries. I'm holding the both of them accountable as well. Not accountable for her death, no, but accountable for closure and any chance of peace coming to her family, and that being avoided. I'm holding them accountable for that because they can absolutely do something about that. And they're not helping their son in any way, shape, or form. They're not helping their son. So their behavior in this is almost more infuriating to me than Brian's actions. Almost, not nearly quite, really, but it's the way that they are enabling this young man is beyond infuriating. That's what I think too. I think they enabled him his whole life. I think that's exactly what this is. I think, and I honestly think that type of behavior, him thinking in those moments, whether they were heat fueled, anger fueled, but in those moments where he was taking the life from Gabby Petito, he had a sense of entitlement to where he felt that he had some sort of right to do that. Because it takes a few minutes, I would imagine. I've never strangled anybody, so I don't know. But I would imagine that it takes a few minutes to get, or a good solid few moments at least, to take the life from someone and watch their life slip from them. And I apologize, people, for my being graphic, but this is important that we understand the nature of how disgusting this crime is. This is DV that obviously went way too far. Any form of DV is too far, but this is a form of DV. This is an example of DV where it is. Is that actually true, D. Marie? 3 to 5 minutes? I don't know about that. That sounds like way too long. So the fact that his parents can know this about their own son and behave in the way that they're behaving right now, right, I mean, right, but still, I mean, he had to have known that he was taking her life. If it takes that long, he had to have known that he was taking her life. There's no other way around that for me. He had to have known. Yeah, I would find it extremely difficult to believe that Brian's parents were not already privy to the idea that there might be a DV situation in that relationship. I find it extremely difficult to believe because they lived in his house. Exactly. Exactly, Cherry. Yeah, see, that sounds like an excuse to me. That sounds like an excuse to me. I'm not letting him get away with that. Not even that. Not that I'm saying that that's okay and that somehow excuses his actions. It doesn't. But I'm not even going to give him that much. I'm just not going to do that. You know, the whole, oh, I don't know what happened. I just saw red, and then I just get no. For 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 it to take 3 to 5 minutes, the way people are saying in my chat here, for it to take 3 to 5 minutes, that's a long time. Have you ever counted to 60? 1 minute? You ever counted to 60? You ever stick a hot pocket in a microwave and feel like it took forever? He knew. He knew what he was doing. He was aware. I mean, there's no disputing this to me. There's none. There's no making excuses for this guy in any way, shape, or form to me. There just isn't. Okay, throttling is describing manual strangulation. This means an asphyxiation death where the perpetrator uses their hands. So that is pretty specific. Okay, that is quite specific. And here's how I imagine the scenario going down, more or less. Right? Here's how I imagine the scenario going down, more or less. This is pure speculation here, people. But I'm imagining at some point, Gabby stood up for herself. At some point, Gabby stood up for herself. She didn't just take the abuse quietly. At some point, she called him out on the pathetic excuse for a man that he is, probably insulted his pathetic excuse for manhood that he has, and this infuriated him. This set him off. I wouldn't be surprised if she threatened to leave him and say, dude, no, you're not leaving me in my van. It's my van. If anything, I'm leaving you. And he's like, oh, yeah. So that's more or less what I imagine taking place. Don't know, wasn't there, but every scenario that I imagine him having his hands around her neck make me angry. And let's not forget, people. Let's not forget. I assumed it was his hands too. Remember, we talked about this. I assumed that this was the manner of death many times because because watching the body cam footage where she describes that he grabbed her face and hard enough to leave marks from his nails. Okay, so I imagine that the cause of death being something similar, just around her throat. Uh, yeah, to me, there's no such thing because I imagine his parents, right? I imagine his parents. I'm trying to, in some way, shape, or form, try to understand what they're, you know, what's driving them and their decision making here. And I imagine he does this to Gabby. He calls home and they get him a lawyer, and for some reason, thank you, DeMarie, appreciate that. Yeah, I agree with you. uh, he somehow justified his actions to his parents. I don't know, Mom. She just wouldn't stop yelling at me. She wouldn't stop calling me names. Wah, 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 wah. Somehow justifying his actions to his parents, and enough to where they get him a lawyer and they refuse to cooperate with law enforcement. But most importantly, and the thing that makes me most angry is they refuse to talk to Gabby's family. Not a I'm sorry, not a I wish I could talk to you, but you know, we got an attorney, and our attorney asked us not to speak to anyone, and I'm really sorry. I mean, that's the least you could do. That's the least you could do. And what's interesting is, you know, they're still not naming him a suspect, but I don't think it matters. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it matters in the slightest bit. Who cares? You know, like, we know that he's every bit of his actions right now dictate that he's responsible for this. Everything we know dictates that he's responsible for this. Who else would have a motive to get angry enough to strangle her? Right. And he still used her card. He felt entitled to her money. What are you trying to say here, Firestarter? Most murderers talk? You trying to say that he didn't do it? Or do you think that there's a chance that he didn't do it? Because I'm not seeing anything. Dude, I'm the guy on YouTube that's always like, hey, don't jump to conclusions. I'm always that guy on YouTube. Don't jump to conclusions. I've ended friendships with other creators. Things have fallen out between me and other creators because because I'm like, hey, be careful what you're doing, man. You don't have all the facts yet. Don't go accusing somebody. It's innocent until proven guilty, blah, blah, blah. But no. Because most of the time, the reason why I get to that point, and I say that, is because we don't have nearly as much information as we have in this case. In those other cases, we don't have any information. We don't have enough information. We just have usually some guy who, you know, their wife went missing. We don't know anything about their relationship. We don't know anything, right? So I'm not about to go and jump to that conclusion. Hey, the person who's probably loving and missing that person the most, you know, and you're out here dragging them on the internet. That's not right. But we have too much information in this case already. We have way too much information that indicate that this guy is absolutely responsible for Gabby's death. And now that we know the cause of death, it makes even more sense. Let's see. People have told me I'm very old-fashioned due to me not risking a pound of prevention would have saved Gabby Petito. Well, sure, but the thing is we can't hold anyone responsible other than Brian, and maybe Brian's parents for bringing him up the way that they did. You know, they have some responsibility as far as that goes. You know, I mean, I wouldn't hold them in the slightest bit accountable if they were behaving in the slightest bit responsibly. You know, I wouldn't. But I think it's fair to hold them accountable. I think it's fair to say that they raised a coward with no sense of self-awareness or accountability. They raised a coward, and they continued into his adulthood to make excuses for him and coddle him. Yep. Yep. I don't want to hear anything else because it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Like, okay, is it possible? Is it possible that someone else did it and he saw it happen and he freaked out and ran and now he's just little Mr. PTSD and can't deal? Is that possible? Like 1% chance, maybe, if that 0.001%. But no, highly, highly, highly unlikely. Everything points to this guy. Everything points to him. Yes, I just want to correct Cherry here. It's cheap wine and real crime. Okay, cheap wine and real crime. Okay, hashtag real crime because it's real crime. That's what we do here. We do real crime here. There's other people that are alive right now that do true crime. We don't do that. We don't do the stuff that they do. We do real crime because we deal in facts. Real crime. Another typo from Cherry. You'll have to forgive Cherry, folks. She's very upset about the news today, so she just keeps typing typos, unfortunately. But it's real crime. Just so you know. I mean, now, I mean, dude, it's so funny. Yesterday, I was like, you know what? If I saw the guy on the street, I would keep my distance and I would call the authorities. I don't know about that now. If I saw the guy on the street, I think I put my hand around his neck and be like, how do you like it, dude? I want to look into his eyes and be like, how do you like it, dude? How does it feel? Like, I'm overwhelmed with the want to do that. I'm overwhelmed with it. And I realize it's just because this news is fresh. You know, I realize that. No, Irish. It's just real crime. There's no true in there. It's just real crime. That's all. Yeah. Well, okay, look, we all know, all right? We all know and we all understand that the police, the Moab police, did not handle that situation the best way that they possibly could have. I think that they meant to. I think that they had every intention to. I think that they were actually her safety was in mind. I don't think that they felt that he was abusive. I think that they misread that entire situation. So they didn't consider him to be abusive, but they did feel like, okay, well, this is just a young couple who is having arguments because, you know, being on the road is getting to them, you know, so separate them for the night. Maybe the scare of having the police intervene in the situation will straighten them out and they'll realize that their fighting is petty. But that wasn't the case. It was obviously more serious than that, but they didn't have any way of knowing that. But now that we see the result of what happened, I really, really hope that now things start to be taken seriously as if that is the possibility to actually prepare for, no matter what, no matter how light the scenario seems, no matter how light it seems, always assume that the worst could happen, which in this case it did. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a question of training. That's all it is. I think it's a question of training. Like I said, I think that they need a specialist to come out and assess the situation, a trained specialist in DV to assess the situation, just like a DWI specialist comes out and does roadside sobriety tests. Sure. Why wouldn't they have that for DV situations? Because obviously someone's life is at stake. And it's like they understand. It's like those cops understood that, but they didn't understand it. You know what I mean? It's like they understood the words that someone's life is in danger, but they didn't really take it to heart and consider the possibility or likelihood that her life could have actually been in danger. And I agree with you. I think that I think that they feel horrible, and I feel like if they, I mean, I don't, I don't know them, you know what I mean? But considering the way that their hearts seemed, or at least the one the one who had the second body cam footage, at least him, that officer, I feel like his heart was in the right place. And I feel like, considering how he was behaving and everything that he was doing was coming from a place of wanting to be helpful, I think it's safe to assume that right now he feels awful. Well, you know what? The world works in funny ways, man. You know, the world works in interesting, fun ways, Limey the squirrel, because uh because those people don't even have a voice, really. You know, they're they're infecting little Facebook groups. You know what I mean? Like, you know, those of us who aren't complete and total, D bags, we're over here. We're over here. We're not we're not victim blaming over here. Victim blamers get kicked off of YouTube. That's what happens to victim blamers. Because the fact is these are real people. People don't seem to understand that. These are real people. These aren't characters in a Lifetime movie. I say this all the time. These aren't characters in a Lifetime movie. These are real people that are really affected by a serious situation here. Okay? The Schmitz and the Petitos lost their daughter and stepdaughter. Okay? They lost her unfairly. And they're not to blame either. Okay? Because I don't want to hear that. Okay? I heard Joe Petito on Dr. Phil say, my daughter is an adult. We spoke to her. We did everything we could to make sure that we prepared her and how to be safe in a situation like that. But she's an adult, and she was planning this trip for a long, long time. And we trust our daughter. We raised her well. If you raise your kid well, there's no reason why you can't trust them at 21, 22 years old to get in a van and travel and see the country. Why not? That's not That's not bad parenting. First of all, she's an adult. Second of all, what is the point of parenting? The point of parenting is to prepare your child for independence. That is the ultimate exercise in independence. Before going on your own and living on your own, paying your own bills, living in your own house or apartment. If you're trying to prepare your child for this, you obviously would encourage them to take a trip like that. I know I would. If my son called me today and was like, Dad, you know what I did? Bought a van and I decked it all out so I could live out of it. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to be a YouTuber and I'm going to check out the country. I'm going to be like, dope. I'm going to be like, dope, dude. Call me all the time. Let me know where you're at. Send me pictures wherever you go. And that is bold. Let me tell you right now. 19-year-old girl traveling around Mexico unsupervised. Yo, that takes guts. And here you are. And I bet you anything, there's a good chunk of wisdom that you've picked up from that experience. I guarantee it. No, see, okay. And I don't mean to give you a hard time. I'm already heated up, but you're spamming my chat with nope, no way, never let my kid go, blah, 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 blah. You know what? See, that kind of helicopter mom shit, that's not good for a kid. You know what I'm saying? Kids got to leave the nest. I'm not going to let the fact that bad things have happened to people. What am I going to not? I'm going to not let my kid feed themselves with a fork because I read a story that some kid choked on their own fork or choked on their food because they cut too big of a piece off and they didn't chew it enough. You know what I'm saying? Bad things are going to happen. I guarantee you any scenario where someone has to pick up some experience, any scenario, something bad has happened at some point to somebody. So I'm not going to let that dictate whether or not I think my kid should experience life. Look at that. I mean, whatever. Anyway, I mean, dude, my kid, if he calls me up tomorrow and says, hey, Dad, I'm going skydiving. I'm going to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I'm going to be like, dope, sweet. Make sure that you get video or at least a picture of it. All right? Because I want to see that. And I'm going to be proud of my kid that he did that. I did it. I was scared out of my mind too. But I did it. I went skydiving once. Great. Is it dangerous? Absolutely. Of course it's dangerous. Yes, there's the risk that I'm going to splatter to the ground. But I'm super glad that I experienced it. Yeah, man. Come on, dude. We live in an explosive world where there literally is danger everywhere. If we live in fear of everything, what's the point of living? Exactly. I love that too. People are, oh my God. Well, that's what happens when you live in a van and live like a hobo. That's what happens. Bill Maher, smug ass too. That's what happens. That's what happens when you want to live out of a van like a hobo. Like, no, dude. Like, yeah, try it sometime. Try it sometime. I mean, but these people never will because they don't have the guts. They don't have the guts. Brian Laundrie didn't become interesting until he became a person of interest. Shut the fuck up. And bungee jumping, I'm not doing. Y'all are crazy doing that. That's just foolish. I'm not doing that. I mean, anything where statistically it's fine and it's going to give my kid some sort of life experience. That's the whole point of life. Okay. There's a whole point of being a parent. That's the coolest part of being a parent. You know what I'm saying? Like, the whole coolest part of being a parent is to watch your kids grow up and experience things. They learn how to walk. Ooh, that's awesome. That's one step closer to independence. Ooh, my kid is feeding himself for the first time. Oh, my kid's doing their own laundry. Oh, my kid's cooking for themselves. My kid's moving out. My kid's traveling the country on their own. That's one of the wonders of parenting. I'm not going to make my kid feel less than and call him a hobo because he's willing to sacrifice luxuries so he can experience and see the country. That's crazy to me. That's bad parenting. That's bad parenting. Cutting a kid down and being like, what you know, even if they're an adult, of course, especially if they're an adult, cutting them down and being like, what are you, a bum? You're going to live like a bum by choice for the next couple of months? What are you, an idiot? Like, that's bad parenting. Encouraging them and going, hey, you know, you're old enough to make your own decisions. And even if you don't agree with it, well, I'd prefer you didn't do that. I'd prefer you didn't. But if you're going to, please promise me you're going to do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. Because I don't want to worry about you. Because I'm your mom, I'm your dad, and I'm worried about you, and I don't want to worry about you, and I want to worry about you as little as possible. So please at least be considerate of my feelings and keep in touch with me and make sure that you follow these particular protocols to keep yourself safe. Please. It's all I ask. That's what you do as a parent. You don't go, what? Well, that's stupid. So far CNN has done nothing but put out ridiculous rumors regarding this case. CNN is proving to be fake news. And I hate that too, man. You know, I hate that. I hate following the whole, you know, but I mean, it is, you know. Yeah, Jen Berry speaking facts. If they're still living with you at 22, yeah, man. Yeah, get the hell on. I'm sitting here thinking about how much money I'm gonna be saving on groceries in the next couple months. That's what I'm thinking about. Not even trying to lie. Not even trying to lie. If my kids living with me, you know what I'm saying, and not paying rent, nothing, and they're living off me still, I'm gonna be like, yes, go. And I'm already fantasizing about privacy and how much I'm saving on groceries and utilities. Like, I'm cracking open the windows. I'm not even going to run the AC because I don't care. Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, Deborah, you know, I appreciate that you're in your 60s. I understand that. I understand that you're old fashioned. But when you comment in a chat, you're susceptible to comments right back. It's just the way that is. And if somebody in their 60s should understand that every person is accountable for their own words. You know, don't comment and not expect to get comments back. It's just the way that is. So as a 60-year-old woman, I would recommend acting accordingly in that sense. And I mean no disrespect. Just, just so you have a better experience in my chat. Understand that the things you're going to say, they're going to come back at you if people don't agree. That's just how that is. Your comments and opinions are welcome, but I may disagree with those opinions, and I may be very vocal about that, and people in my chat may be very vocal about that. Let's see. Good grandma. My oldest in Denver has her bachelor's and 3 kids. It's so stupid to stifle and put a cap on kids' growth. I do worry, but I trust my kids. Sure. What's the point of being a parent if you don't trust your kids as an adult? If you can't trust your kids as adults, you failed as a parent. Period. That's exactly the entire point of being a parent. In my personal opinion, that is the entire point of being a parent, Stephanie G. Here it is, okay? From ages of toddler to preteen, you're teaching them how to not be assholes, right? And then from teenage to adulthood, you're teaching them how to be independent. And even as small children, you're teaching them some levels of independence. Teaching them how to walk is an exercise in teaching them how to express independence. Thanks, D. Marie. Everything. Whatever you're, dude. I mean, old-fashioned dads, right? Old-fashioned dads, old-fashioned moms. The kids are climbing up on the furniture. Let him climb. Watch him bust his ass. That's how he's going to learn. Watch him bust his ass. That's old school parenting. That's what they do. Let him climb. Watch him bust his ass. That is an exercise in teaching them independence. People, that's exactly what that is. Like, think about it. Like, let's take that small little example, right? Kids climbing on the furniture all the time, right? How many parents are stupid enough to like grab their kid off of the furniture and then whoop their ass? Wasn't the whole point of them not climbing on the furniture so they don't get hurt? And then you're going to whoop their ass? No. Let them fall. Let them fall, dude. That's all I'm saying. Let them fall. That way you can be like, what'd I tell you? I just told you. It's also an exercise in teaching them that they should listen to their parents. It's not a threat. It's, hey, I was looking out for you, but since you didn't listen to me, look at you now with your busted ass on the floor crying because you busted your ass. Right. Exactly, Jen Perry. When you fall, I don't want to hear you crying about it. I done told you you're going to fall. Yeah, I know. Dude, my mom would tell neighbors to beat my ass. I'm not even trying to lie. Like, if I talk back to the neighbor, my mom would be like, smack him. If I spoke to an adult out of turn, right? My mom would tell that adult, smack him. He needs to learn. He needs to learn to respect his elders. I'm not saying you're a bad parent because, you don't try to teach your kid not to climb on the furniture. You know what I'm saying? Like, and You grab them off the furniture, and you're always. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I understand being protective, but you're not going to sit here and convince me that it's bad parenting to let a young adult travel the country if they have the means to do it. If they actually took the time to plan it and they had all their ducks in a row in order to do it, which it seems to me like Gabby did. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the problem? Yeah, me too, Jessica Moon. No secret there. No secret there. Hell, I failed as a parent. I'll tell you that right now. I failed as a parent. But I love my kids. I love my kids. And neither one of them would ever tell you that these certain things I didn't do a good job in teaching them. Neither one of them would tell you that. There are other areas where I failed. But when it came to teaching them and preparing them for being independent people, I guarantee you that they would say, yeah, Dad taught me that. And she called her parents all the time, right? Well, that's what good parents do, Missy L. You know, that's what good parents do. What's up, Mexi? Now, when I say I failed as a parent, that's not to say that I'm not proud of the kids that of the people that my kids grew up to be. You know, my son isn't living the ideal cookie cutter life, but at his age, I was way worse. I was doing way worse. So, you know, I got no complaints. I'm just happy that my kid is healthy and that he's safe and he makes decent decisions, not great decisions, but he makes decent decisions to keep himself out of trouble for the most part. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful for that. You know, I mean, but I'll tell you one thing right now. This is something that I can honestly say from the bottom of my heart, with all of my heart and soul. I can honestly say this. I can say this honestly, that if my son did this, he would not need me to tell him to turn himself in. He would already take accountability. I know this for a fact. I know this with all of my heart. He will absolutely. He has made hard life decisions as an adolescent. I will never get into that here. But the things that have happened in his life, he was given the freedom to make these decisions for himself. And he has always made the right decision for himself. And it was always the tougher one. It was always the tougher one. But he knew that it was leading towards growth, progress for himself. Always. So I can honestly say that right here. The Laundry family, they can't say that for their son because look at him. Look at him. Look what he's doing. So me, think about it. Me, right? I've been dragged over the internet as being a piece of shit parent so many times, right? But this piece of shit parent can sit here and honestly tell you with conviction that if my son were in this situation, he would have turned himself in himself. If I would have offered to give him money and say, hey, hit the road, I'll cover for you, he'd have been like, no, Dad. This is something I got to answer for. My son at 21 years old, right now, I can say that with conviction. I would swear my eyes on it. Exactly. No, because this is also obviously a result of how this kid was raised. See, my son wouldn't do that, though, Kelsey. That's my point. My son wouldn't do that. My son wouldn't run away. He wouldn't do that. He'd face the consequences. What's up, Sean B? This case is not going to go cold. Like, when you see, like, first of all, John Walsh is on fire about this case. All right. You get a guy like John Walsh that's this passionate about this. You don't stand a chance. Like, this dude, he has a new show on the ID channel, right? He has a new show. And every episode of that show, he talks about Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. John Walsh is like, he's a coward. I think he's a coward. I think he's a murderer, and he's on the run. And I'm like, yeah. Get him, John Walsh. Who knows what happened to Dog? Who knows? You know, I would, but I would get a copyright strike thing. So I'm not going to do that. Like, you could stream news. Like, I could stream news. That's fair use under YouTube's terms of service, but I can't like a copyrighted show. I can't do that. John Walsh is awesome, dude. Hello, America. Let's work together to nail this dirtbag and get him locked up for the rest of his life. Yeah. I'm always doing that to the TV. Get him, John. Yeah. Yeah, that's the rumor that he got injured somehow. Probably sat on his mace and it squirted in his face. I don't know if Dog's an idiot, man. Don't say that. He's not an idiot. He's experienced in catching fugitives. You got to give him that. Maybe he's not real book smart. I'm not either. You know what I mean? I'm not going to trash the dude for being uneducated. I'm uneducated, but he's probably, he's probably not real book smart. You know what I mean? Like, but he's got experience. He's got experience. Absolutely, Sean B. I'm really glad that you asked that question. Just because the FBI is not telling you nothing, the reason why the FBI is not telling you nothing is because they don't want to be telling Brian nothing. So you got to trust the FBI to do their job. I guarantee you that they do not want to be embarrassed. I guarantee you, this is something that I guarantee you, people, okay, that over 10 years ago, when Colton Harris Moore was publicly national headlines, was making a fool out of the FBI, was making an absolute fool of the FBI. I guarantee you that they updated some protocols to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And here we are many, many years later, people. And here is somebody who is at large and the whole country wants him caught. Everyone wants him caught, they are not gonna, yeah. So also keep in mind, people are like, why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long? Understand what they're most likely doing. Not only are they trying to locate Brian Laundrie, but half of their, if not more, but at least half of their efforts are going towards building a case, an airtight case to present in court once he is caught. Okay? That's the main process of catching a fugitive, people. Building an airtight case against them in court. So that's what they're doing right now. They're collecting evidence. They are building a case. And once it comes down to it, they will find him when they need to. They will absolutely find him when they need to. I have faith in the FBI that they will do that. I don't think he unalived himself. I don't think he unalived himself, Kelsey. Right. And it's really super annoying too, right? It's like super irritating that this guy hasn't been caught yet. Yeah, that's why they're using local law enforcement to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's a federal case. If they honestly thought that he was in the reserve, they'd be the feds would be in the reserve. That's what they like too, man. That's what's gonna happen. Like y'all seen The Fugitive, right? Y'all seen The Fugitive with Tommy Lee Jones? Tommy Lee Jones is a U.S. Marshal, right? And he's like, we want him, we want him to feel comfortable. We want him to feel at home. We want him to relax. You know? Brian Laundrie is absolutely the type that is going to find some place and relax and get comfortable and then get sloppy. He's absolutely the type. He's no Richard Kimball. You know what I'm saying? Brian Laundrie is no Richard Kimball. When I came home, there was a man in my house. He had a mechanical arm. I fought with this man. You find this man. You find this man. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, he's no Richard Kimball, bro. See, I don't think so. See, Kelsey, I don't think so. I think I don't think so. I think that's I think that he's absolutely like hiding in somebody's basement. Somebody is putting him up. That's what I think. I think somebody is putting him up. But why hasn't anybody come forward talking about him? This has come up a couple of times in the Dad Challenge podcast as well. Why hasn't any like old schoolmates or anybody like that came forward and talked about him? Either for him or against him. Nobody's come forward. Nobody. It's the weirdest thing in the world. And look, yo, I'll tell you something. I talked to my mom about this case the other day. My mom was like, she's like, I can't. People are just so stupid. My mom was like, I can't. People are just so stupid. I mean, come on. People are saying that he's in the flower bed. And I'm like, I know, Mom. Yeah. She's like, I can't with the stupidity. I love my mom. She's hilarious. Like you guys, you can see where I get it from. Like my mom is My mom's patience for stupidity and nonsense is, I mean, like, it's a fraction of mine. It's a fraction of mine. I promise you that. Like, my mom will call a perfect fucking stranger an idiot right there in the line at the grocery store. Are you stupid? Seen her do it. I'm telling you right now. Are you stupid? Kelsey, I think you mean to say real crime. It's real crime here at the Galera. Real crime. We don't say true crime here. That's not a thing. No. You meant to say real crime. That's what you meant to say. You meant to say real crime. Nope. Just real crime. Just real crime. No. It's not the same thing. Real crime is real crime. True crime is nothing. It's not a thing. Real crime addict. Real crime addict. It's okay. It's okay. No, it's definitely real crime, actually. Yeah. That's acceptable. That's acceptable. That's why it's called real crime. Exactly. Thank you, perfectly imperfect. For someone who's perfectly imperfect, that was a perfect statement. All crime is real. That's why we call it real crime. It's not all true, but it's all real. Okay. There you go. No, see, the reason why I've now this started because Josh, Josh, I made the comment. I shouldn't even embarrass him like this because I love the dude. I love him so much. But he covered the Casey Anthony case yesterday. Like he did a deep dive into the Casey Anthony case yesterday, which like I've done on Patreon only because it's like such an old case. Like, oh, how do I look going on my channel and doing that if I do real crime? So, so he covers the Casey Anthony case, and he never really gotten into it. And I like he was so naive to the way that due process and the law works here in the United States because he's Canadian. And I made the comment, I was like, he's adorably Canadian right now. Like, it's hilarious to me because he's just so naive in that wonderful Canadian way. And I love it. And he was like, how is that? How could they acquit her? How could she have gotten away with this with all this evidence, blah, blah, blah. And I'm, trying to explain him to, trying to get him to understand the perspective of that the prosecution, the burden of proof is on the prosecution, and all Jose Baez had to do was just create a bunch of smoke and mirrors and get one juror to have doubt. That's all it took. Because it's the prosecution's job. We know this in the United States of America. The prosecution's job is to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. There could be no doubt. That's how it works. There could be absolutely no doubt. And then they walk. If one juror out of that 12 So this was a hard concept because being the Casey Anthony case, this is a difficult concept because it was so fresh to Josh. The case was so fresh to Josh that all of us who had already went through this already were just laughing. Look at Josh going through what I went through like 5 years ago when I first started really thinking about it. Because when it was going on, I wasn't really paying that much attention to it either. But it was just funny to see that. But the thing is because Josh does not follow crime cases and he's very, very new to it, he didn't know that it was called generally true crime, right? It's a genre that's called true crime. I've always hated the term true crime because it was a genre, right? I've always hated people saying I'm a true crime fan. Really, you're a fan of murder? You're a fan of you know what I mean? I hear these drama channels talk about crime cases and they're like, oh, I don't like true crime. I like serial killers, but I don't like what? What do you mean you like serial killers? What do you mean you like that? Can you word that another way? I know what you meant, but can you word it a different way, please? Just to humor me, you know? So I want to separate from that. So I took advantage of the fact that Josh being so fresh to covering these cases, so fresh to this entire genre of things, A, and B, him being actually surprisingly really good at it. So those two things gave me the opportunity that I saw, and I was like, you know what? This is good. I want to lump myself up with a creator like that. You know what I mean? Like when it comes, I want to build a community on YouTube with creators like this who actually care about these cases and want answers because they're important, not because they're going to cause drama between other creators. And because that's all that is, man. These are people who watch way too much Lifetime and way too much, you know, and they mix the drama with the crime. And I don't want anything to do with that anymore, man. I just don't. So that's why I've adopted the term real crime, because it comes from a very, very, very sincere place in the most adorable, fun way. So that's why I'm like, yeah, real crime. Absolutely. Totally. Real crime. Because Josh didn't know what it was called, and he called it real crime, and it was just funny. And everybody in his chat was like, what? Real crime? What are you talking about? So it was really funny. Yeah, I'm over it, man. I'm over it, Louisiana girl. I'm done with that. You know, I want to, you know, we can talk, we can have our opinions, but we're not going to speculate on victims' families and start trash talking them and the dynamics that they have with each other. That stuff is none of our business. I never liked focusing on that sort of thing. That's not something that I want to do. And you know, I want to stick to the facts, man. That's all I want to do. I want to stick to the facts. And so I don't want anything to do with how these cases are being handled on that other side of YouTube that I'm not interested in, man. You know? See what I mean? Now you get it. Now you get it. Okay? That's why we're starting a whole new thing here. That's why. Hashtag real crime. Tweet it. Do everything you can. Hashtag real crime. It's this real crime is the genre for people who actually care about victims and actually care about being fact driven and only fact driven. You want gossip? Go follow true crime channels. We don't do that here. This is real crime. Hello from Scotland. Wow. All right. And I'm never on at this time of night. I'm never ever. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I don't care. I don't. Like your actions. What do you expect to happen? What do you expect to happen? Do I condone that? No, of course not. I do not condone any doxing, harassing, I don't condone that at all. Do I condone, in fact, encourage people to camp out just off of their property and exercise their First Amendment rights? Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Not only do I condone that, but I encourage it. But I don't encourage any type of threatening or assault. No, of course not. Okay. Emerson Blue needed to announce that it's weed time. Okay. So she'll be right back, guys. Mark, that's funny. I mean, I had to I made fun of that person, and I don't feel bad about doing that. You know what I mean? Like when you do stuff like that, you make yourself susceptible to people like me making fun of you. That's just how that is. I mean, it was over the top dramatic. It was ridiculous. That's the true crime genre. That's why I'm like, no. See, I don't do that. That's no. And I mean, and what's funny about her is I don't have any problem with her. I kind of like her. I always have. I always have. It's just I just wish that she wouldn't touch crime cases, because every time she does it, it becomes this disgusting, horrible circus of a mess. She just makes this disgusting circus of a mess of it, But it's funny because I've had conversations with her where I think she's one of the most awesome people in the world. I really do. Just please, just don't touch crime cases, because too many people listen to you and you suck at it. Stop. Just stop. Yeah, that was her, man. That was I went over it on this channel a couple times. Dirty laundries. Big Juicy. That's what you call her, Big Juicy? I never heard that one, Big Juicy. I ain't never heard that one. I mean, I doubt she would take that as an insult. I mean, that's a compliment. You know, ain't nothing wrong with being big and juicy. Ain't nothing wrong with being big and juicy. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I doubt that one person was the mastermind behind that incredibly original idea of laundry basket. Yeah, okay, got it. Hello, um, hello. Okay, hold on. All right, let's go over this a little bit.
Teton County, Wyoming coroner. After detailed investigation by our forensic pathologist, our anthropologist, and local law enforcement, with assistance from the FBI, the Teton County Coroner Office is filing the following verdict in the death of Gabrielle Lenora Petito. We hereby find the cause and manner of death to be the cause, death by strangulation, and manner is homicide. By Wyoming state statute, no other information will be released about the autopsy. The only thing that is released in the state of Wyoming is cause and manner of death.
I think they said they can't hear you. Just 1 second.
Yo, we can hear him, lady. What are you talking about? This dude hates this. Look at him. He hates this.
Should I start over then?
No, dude.
Thank you for joining us. Sorry about the audio issue. I'm Dr. Brent.
There was no audio
Teton
issue,
County,
bro.
Wyoming coroner. After a detailed investigation by our forensic pathologist, our anthropologist, and local law enforcement, with assistance from the FBI, the Teton County Coroner's Office is following the following verdict. In the manner of death of Gabrielle Lenora Petito, we find the cause and manner to be death by strangulation.
When Josh went over this earlier, Annie,
Wyoming state statute.
And welcome, Annie. Thanks for joining us. When Josh went over this earlier, I don't think that I remember this guy actually giving many details. All that we know is that she was killed by quote unquote throttling. As a matter of fact, here, let me send you a screenshot real quick because I shared it earlier at the beginning of this live. So, there we go. All right, you should be getting the actual release statement from this guy. I just texted it to you. But yeah, he didn't seem to answer too many questions. I probably won't even go over this whole thing, as a matter of fact, because it's like well over an hour long. But
statute, only the cause and manner of death are released. Their autopsy findings and photographs and that sort of material is not released by state statute. And I'll be glad to entertain some questions at this time.
Hi, Brian. This is Alex with the News and Guide. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm curious whether you're able to pinpoint a date of death and when, and if you know whether or when Gabby's remains will be returned to her family.
oh, that dude's got a beautiful name.
The remains have been returned to the mortuary here, and the mortuary is dealing with the family at this time as far as the disposition of the remains. As far as the time of death, we are estimating 3 to 4 weeks from the time that the body was found. That is actually
So that's an interesting fact right there. That's an interesting fact right there. That it was that it had been 3 to 4 weeks already, based on the decomposition and everything involved.
than our office.
Chris, Vivian, you are able to ask your question.
What's the question? I didn't hear a question.
Good point. When did I get all these
Chris, I believe
supermodels
that
in my
you are
chat all of a
muted.
sudden? What are you, a supermodel? Are you serious?
If you can unmute yourself.
Okay, it's John Walsh from In Pursuit with John Walsh on Discovery ID.
There he is.
Dr. Blue, thank you for your time. I think everybody in the world believes that Brian Laundrie killed Gabby. With your extensive work on the body, are you sure that it's Brian Laundrie? And will the FBI issue a nationwide homicide warrant now that they know the cause of death?
How is he supposed to know that, John?
We are only tasked with the determination of cause and manner of death. Who committed the homicide is up to law
Yeah.
enforcement.
How do you not know that?
I cannot answer the question about the FBI. You would have to contact them.
Jeremy Kopis, you are now allowed to ask your question.
Yes, hello, doctor. If you could please Can you comment on any other bruising, maybe on the body that possibly was healing, possibly older bruises or cuts that might have been healing over the last couple of weeks before her passing?
Which is a great
By
question,
Wyoming
actually.
state statute, no other information about the autopsy is released, just the cause of death.
Which he said already, but I understand them asking the question. I mean, these journalists always trip me out because they're always trying to get somebody to slip. You know what I
Hi
mean?
there, this is Heather Lee.
They make
reporter
the
at ABC
statement
Action
from
News
the
in Tampa,
beginning.
Florida. I just wanted to know if you could explain.
Like they always make the statement at the beginning, and they say, "Okay, only the cause of death is what I'm allowed to talk about. Nothing else." Right? And then everybody like takes a chance and asks the question anyway, like hoping that they'll slip up and be like, "Ah, okay, all right."
Why it took about a month for this process to finish. I think a lot of people were hoping that they would learn this information sooner. So I just think if you could just explain the process and why it took a month.
Well, the main reason was that we were very exacting in our examination and the detail by which that examination was done. We were waiting for various specialists to come in and help us with this investigation. We were waiting on toxicology to be returned, and it was just a matter of making sure we had everything right.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, you got to understand, people. I say this over and over and over again, guys. They are the entire purpose. Okay, now there's some of the purpose is to bring the family closure, for sure, of course. But there's a process. There's a lot that goes into bringing the family closure. Part of that is justice, and getting justice. You have to do a thorough job in order to be able to sit in a courtroom. Because that dude that we're seeing on camera right now is going to end up on a witness stand if there's a trial. And I can almost guarantee you that there will be a trial. If this guy had any intention of pleading guilty, he would have turned himself in by now. So this guy is going to end up on a witness stand at some point. And he's going to have to give a lot of information, and he's going to be able to deliver that information thoroughly because they performed a thorough autopsy, and that is why it took so long. I mean, either you want answers or you want justice. You know what I'm saying? You can't have both while there's an ongoing investigation. You just can't expect to have both.
Is there another question?
Brian Enton,
That's my man
I
right there.
believe you're
But hold on. Before we hear Brian, I'm going to go on a little rant here. Okay. Elizabeth Jones says, and you wonder why OJ got off. I know exactly why OJ got away with what he got away with. I know exactly what happened. And I'm going to tell you right now. Okay. The defense gods and stars all aligned for OJ. That happened. Okay. Make no mistake about it. What happened with OJ was a freak fluke. Okay. Everything lined up in his favor. Okay. LA was still rebuilding from the Rodney King riots. Okay. They didn't want that to happen again. There was that factor right there. Not only that, but there was a jury on top of that. There was no way you were going to select a jury in LA that wasn't going to have people that were going to just straight up be like, this is another oppressed person of color who is getting the shaft here, right? That's exactly what was going on. Because, and rightfully so, they were angry. Those policemen got acquitted. The policemen that were caught on camera before cell phones, but caught on video, beating the hell out of Rodney King. maliciously, no mistake about it. People were still angry about this because those cops got off. They got away with it, right? So people were still angry about this. Jurors were still, there was no way to select a jury that wasn't going to still be angry about that. There was no way to do that. So that's just one thing. And then you get Johnny Cochran, right? You get Johnny Cochran in the midst of all this, being the dopest defense attorney to ever walk the earth, the most infamous defense attorney, right? You get Johnny Cochran. You got what OJ called, what OJ's team of lawyers were referred to as at the time was the dream team of defense attorneys. The dream team. That's what they called them. Okay. And then the lead investigator on the case, Mark Furman, the lead investigator on that case, Mark Furman, is on tape, people, on tape, not just admitting to, but bragging that he has planted evidence on somebody based on race. Bragging about it. That he and many other officers have planted evidence and unfairly prosecuted people of color based on their race. And he's on tape saying this. OJ's defense had angels. That's all that happened. They came and they just flop, 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 swooped down. And I mean, there was no way that OJ could lose. There was no way OJ could lose. There was just no way. Everything came together for him. As far as his defense goes, everything came together for him. It was unbelievable. I look back on that now, like I've covered the OJ case in Patreon. I've covered the OJ case in my Patreon, and I'm telling you, it's because, and the most fascinating thing for me is how lucky he was, how unbelievably lucky he was, because we know he did it. We know he did it. And then the side prosecutor goes rogue and tells OJ to try on the glove. Come on, man. That was the stupidest move in the world. It's the stupidest move in the world. You ain't got to do nothing. You ain't got to do nothing. It's a free country. But we'd love to have you.
Unmuted right now?
No, you're not muted, lady.
Okay. Steve Fabian?
Yes, hi, doctor. How are you? I am curious if any DNA samples were
Link for
taken
Patreon
from
is
Gabby's
in the
remains,
description.
and
The link for Patreon is in the description.
also, if the body was intact, are you able to tell us the condition of Gabby's remains?
I can tell you the DNA samples were taken by law enforcement, and all I can tell you about remains is that the body was outside for 3 to 4 weeks.
Chris Vivian, do you have your hand up?
Hand up.
Was that a question? I didn't hear the question there.
Because nobody said anything, dude.
Dr. Blue,
Yes.
it's John Walsh again from In Pursuit with John Walsh.
John Walsh again.
You will probably be the most important witness at the trial. And I asked you before how confident you feel that Brian Laundrie, and they use the semantics. He was a person of interest. I'm old school. He was the only suspect he ever And
John
I-
is just like focused.
I just wonder, you're going to be the
He's
most
gunning for
important
him.
guy at the trial, probably. Do you have any doubts it's Brian Laundrie?
I
Okay,
can't
supermodel.
make any comment
Now I-
about
now I know supermodel,
any
thank you.
suspects because we are not involved in that part of the investigation. We are only involved in the investigation of the body of the deceased. So who committed the homicide is really to be determined by law enforcement.
Right, but I thank you for your hard work. And I always say in so many cases I've been involved in, let the pathologist and the coroner do their work no matter how long it takes. So I think you've probably done a really good job on this case. Thank you for your time.
And let's catch this dirtbag.
Hey there, doctor.
You
This
are,
is
obviously.
Rochelle
Look at all
Lee
these-
with
all
ABC
these
Action News in
supermodels in
Tampa.
my
Just a
chat.
quick question. Can you kind of walk us through the process to how you arrived at this specific manner of death?
In the state of Wyoming, there are 4 possibilities for the manner of death. They are homicide, suicide, accident, and natural. And those are the 4 choices. When we do an investigation, we look at the crime scene or the scene of the death, the scene of the body, the condition of the body, and findings at autopsy and toxicology. And that is how we arrive at the manner of death. So it really depends on lots of different circumstances.
Dr. Stephen Fabian again from Inside Edition. Can you tell us if the body was buried when it was discovered or if the body was on the surface?
I can't tell you that. That's would be something you'd have to ask the FBI because we're not allowed to release that information.
Yo, how do I only have 90 likes on this video? Y'all better step it up.
Kelly Vaughn. Do you have a question, Kelly Vaughn?
No, Mark N. Because OJ did it. That's why OJ
We
did
have
it.
Brian Enting in the chat who has a question. What's your question, Brian? Was there any impact on her body from weather or wild animals in the national park?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Was there any impact on her body from weather or wild animals in the national park?
It's a weird
All I can
question,
really
but
comment
valid.
about that is that her body was outside in the wilderness for 3 to 4 weeks.
KSL assignment, you are unmuted. KSL assignment.
Hello, Dan Rascone here from KSL TV in Salt Lake. Dr. Blue, can you tell us at all whether or not, was it believed that she was murdered there at that location, or is it any indication that her body was drugged there or taken there, or can you
Great
give us any
question.
indication there?
Excellent question.
I can't comment on that. That would be something you'd have to speak with the law enforcement or the FBI.
I think, okay, you guys want to hear my theory? I think now when we see the footage from the YouTubers that actually found the van, which led law enforcement to the location of Gabby's body, right? When you see that, when you see them approaching onto the van, you can see the van door closing. Okay, that tells me Brian saw somebody coming. Yeah, I'm saying Brian. I don't care. I think he did it. Brian saw someone coming. This is my theory. It's very loose. It's just speculative, but Brian saw somebody coming and he was in the process of getting rid of Gabby's body. I think that that whatever happened took place in another location, probably in the van or next to the van. And he took the body to this location and was about to actually pull her out of the van and dump her body. That's why when he saw a vehicle approaching, a recreational vehicle to be exact, approaching, he closed the van door. And that's why it was found only, I think, what was it, 90 yards from where the van was, that footage was caught. So that's what I believe happened. I believe that it took place in another location. He took the van to that location to get rid of the body, and did not count on other YouTubers filming. And a big shout out to Red, White, and Buthing for doing that, because had it not been for them, we may never have Gabby's body, and the family would never be able to give her a proper burial, and they wouldn't have the evidence that they've collected so far. So.
Matthew Sella? Matthew Sella, do you have a question?
Hey, Dr. Blue. It's actually Jimmy from dailymail.com in New York here. What were the results of the toxicology report? And is there any suggestion that Gabby had any drugs in her system? And if so, what were they?
The results of the toxicology are not public knowledge by Wyoming statute, so I can't comment about that.
And that's something that I would really like to know as
Thank you.
well. I'm just curious as to what type of.
We have a question from the chat. Was Gabby Petito pregnant?
She was not pregnant.
Okay, so she was. That's a confirmation right there. Gabby Petito was not pregnant, guys.
Thomas Taupe?
Hi, doctor. My question, did you seek the advice of a forensic entomologist or forensic botanist during the course of your investigation?
The FBI has sent materials to a forensic entomologist.
WPBF 25 News?
Hi, doctor. This is Terry Parker.
Let me answer Supermodel's question here. So, Jen the Supermodel says, why can't he divulge that she was not preggers, but can't ask the other questions? I think that anything that might somehow impede on an ongoing investigation from the FBI is why he can't answer them. I don't think that whether or not she was pregnant actually affects their investigation. The fact of whether or not she was pregnant does not impede on the FBI's ongoing investigation currently. So that's probably why he was comfortable in answering that.
From WPBF in Palm Beach County, Florida. I'm wondering if you said you were very thorough in this autopsy and examination. Could you give us an example of the type of test and analysis you performed?
This autopsy included a whole body CAT scan, a examination by a forensic pathologist, an examination by a forensic anthropologist, and toxicology evaluation. So we pretty much covered all the bases.
Jeremy Kopis?
Yes, doctor, thank you for taking the question again. You mentioned that strangulation is.
I didn't say it wasn't relevant. What I said is that particular fact most likely does not impede on the FBI's ongoing investigation. That is what I said. I did not say that it's irrelevant.
Is the cause of death. Can you talk about how you came to that conclusion?
I cannot. That is part of the autopsy findings and is not discoverable by Wyoming statute.
Was there any other cause of death that was a possibility in this case?
Well, we look at all causes, all possibilities when we try to determine cause of death. But this is the cause of death that we determined.
I have a question from chat.
Yep.
It is, was the manner of death obvious? Strangulation marks, bones, injured neck.
What?
The man, nothing is obvious in a situation like this. So a detailed analysis was used both to determine manner and cause of death. I can't go into details on how we made those decisions.
Kristen Thorne.
Yes, hi, Dr. Kristen Thorne with WABC in New York. Could you just please repeat about how long you believe the body was out there? Unfortunately, the last time you spoke, you just didn't get a good film shot of you saying that. Would you mind repeating that?
Our initial determination is the body was in the wilderness for 3 to 4 weeks.
Thank you.
I don't believe that OJ killed Gabby. Mark, just saying. I know that's not what you meant. I was just joking.
Jorge Fitzgibbon.
Kelsey, welcome to Patreon.
You have to unmute. I believe you're still muted.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Dr. Blue.
My bad.
Relating back to the date of death, is there a date listed on the death certificate?
The death certificate has not been completed at this time, and the death certificates of the state of Wyoming allow for approximate dates and variability in those dates. So I doubt, well, there will not be an exact date of death on the death certificate.
Eileen with News 12.
Hi, doctor. This is Eileen LaPalmer from News 12. We sort of asked it a little bit, but is there a way that you can explain how you know that it was strangulation? Sometimes I know that a hyoid bone could be missing. Is that something that you discovered in this case?
I can't comment on that because it would be a finding of the autopsy. And as I stated before, in the state of Wyoming, the autopsy results are not public knowledge.
So then you can't clarify whether it was manual strangulation or with an item, correct?
That's correct.
Michael Ruiz.
Thanks for making time for us, doctor. Was the entire examination conducted at your lab in Jackson, or was Gabby Petito's body shipped to another facility?
The examination was done entirely at our board in Teton County, Wyoming.
Anna Gregorio.
Gregorio. It's actually Ashley Banfield with News Nation. Doctor, thank you for taking the time today. Can I ask you if from the very beginning of your process, was it obvious that the cause, not the manner, that the cause was strangulation and that you just needed this time to prove it out? Or were you completely unaware from the beginning what the cause of death was for Gabby Petito and had to resolve through a number of puzzle solving manners and other experts to arrive at that final cause determination?
In a situation like this, nothing is obvious. And so the cause of death required investigation.
We have a William Walkie.
Hey there, Dr. Blue. My name is Will. I'm from KHOL Jacksonville Community Radio here in Jackson. You're a small town coroner here in Western Wyoming. This case got so much national attention, as we can see right now. Can you speak on what it was like doing your job with such a big spotlight on you? Thanks.
Well, it was quite the media circus, and
You
continues to be. Unfortunately, this is only one of many deaths around the country of people who are
Yeah,
involved.
Gabby
in
is not the only
and,
body on his table, guys.
Unfortunate that these other deaths do not get as much coverage as this one. I'm assuming that because the deceased was a blogger, that this received more coverage than others. But
Well, no, that's not why. That's
men
not
and
why,
women
Mr.
who
Coroner, man.
have lost their lives that aren't covered.
The reason for Gabby's case getting this much attention was simply because of the circumstances involved. No, it's not because it's a case of missing white girl syndrome. No, it is a case of this douchebag shutting down, going home with her van to his parents' home, and giving her family no type of closure whatsoever. Has nothing to do with the fact that she was a blogger. Nothing to do with that. It had to do with the fact that this woman disappeared and this guy shut down and his parents enabled him. That is why this is getting so much attention.
With this kind of media attention.
Francis DeFiore.
Yes, hello. This is Francis DeFiore from the Port Charlotte Sun. Just want
Yeah,
to
she had one video.
Go back to my previous question, although I imagine your response. Is there anything you can tell us about how exactly you determined it was a 3 to 4 week period before death?
I can't go into that kind of information at this time.
I guarantee you.
Folks, this is JB Buno on WFLA Now.
I guarantee
We're going to go back to
you
the Zoom
that-
call
that
here in
there's
just a second.
protesters in front of
We
that
do have
house
an update from the attorney of Brian Laundrie, Stephen Bertolino, has issued a statement.
Why don't
That's
we
coming
take
up here
one more
next.
question then?
We have the Snack Squad.
Hey, this is Andrew Mercado from Mercado Media. Could you go over the length of time the autopsy report took? And thank you for your time, Dr. Blue.
Well, the length of time was involved in the sense that we received a report from the investigating and examining forensic pathologist. We had a report done by our anthropologist, and we had toxicology studies that were done in addition to the report from the radiologic studies. So all these came together, and that's what took time for us to complete this investigation.
Hi, doctor. Could you speak to the state of decomposition, and did that at all hinder your investigation?
No, I can't comment on that.
Dr. Blue, would you like to take any more questions?
Unless there's other specific questions that haven't been answered already, why don't we?
Unless there's
close
other
this?
questions
Thank you all
that
very much
I
for-
can't answer.
For your participation, and I can tell you that I will not be answering any other detailed questions about the autopsy. As I said, state statute.
Calm down,
prevents me from doing
supermodel.
that. So contacting me by email and phone is not going to reveal any additional information. But thank you for your time, and I appreciate your interest.
Dr. Blue, I have one more question. Is there a way to determine if this was accidental or deliberate?
You mean in the sense of a homicide?
Yes.
It's a homicide, so I
make that
think it's deliberate.
Great, thank you.
I think the homicide
Again, thank you all very much for your
kind of
time.
means that it's deliberate. I don't know. I'm kind of stupid. I don't know.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here is JB Buno.
Gabby Petito, at just 22 years old, died of strangulation according to the autopsy conducted by who you just heard from, Dr. Brent Blue of the Teton County Coroner's Office. An answer that tells us how she died. But so many of you here in the comments asking, will there ever be justice for Gabby? Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on
this guy
WFLA
knows.
Now.
This guy in the Mormon
for hard
know,
news for a lot
right?
of people to digest. Gabby Petito dying of strangulation, according to this press conference that was called here today, October 12th, 2021 here, 2:30 Eastern Time, 12:30 Mountain. And you just heard from Dr. Brent Blue here, but we do get a really couple of key pieces of information
This guy
here
has
from
been
Dr. Blue.
killing it,
And I want to start
right?
here, Justin, if
but
we can.
there's something about his face.
Oh, you are frozen.
Man.
Let's
He's
get that
giving me
fixed.
these
That's gonna fix
weird,
a lot of new information
like,
to go over.
Yeah, so let's fix the
He gives me like Jeff Goldblum vibes that like aren't good Jeff Goldblum vibes. You know what I mean? Like the Fly Jeff Goldblum vibes, not Thor Ragnarok Jeff Goldblum vibes, but like, but the Fly Jeff Goldblum vibes. I mean, look at him, look at him. See him? Yeah, and then he's got some Mormon there. Like, okay, dude. Let's watch these dudes for a while.
camera for Justin, and then we can get him back. And now he is back.
There we are.
Okay, so the key piece of information, Justin, 3 to 4 weeks.
3 to 4 weeks. Again, the main headline, the cause of death, according to the Teton
Justin,
County Coroner, is
the son is
strangulation.
free.
Again, they had previously told us
Take
her death was
advantage,
a
bro.
homicide. He again confirmed that today. Again, the coroner says he believes her body was in the wilderness there for 3 to 4 weeks.
Goldblum's like,
from the time it was found from before when she was killed. He was very tight-lipped on questions about who might have been responsible. JB, we saw a few questions from John Walsh about the person of interest in this case, but again, he said that is up to the law enforcement community to determine who is responsible for her.
Supermodel. This is the glarer, okay? The glarer. Understand? Are we clear? Are we clear? It's the glare.
Homicide.
Let's get to some of the comments and questions that are coming in here. We have, of course, let you know that you can use hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJustin. We're live across all of our platforms right now, WFLA.com, the WFLA app, WFLA's Facebook page, and WFLA's YouTube page as well. Hello to all of our interactive audiences here. So let's get to some of the comments and questions that have come in here over the last several minutes. And I want to get right into it. From Kim Brower here, hashtag HeyJB. If the time of death is 3 to 4 weeks, let me explain Kim's comment here, exactly what was said here. So from the body being found, that was September 19th is when the body was discovered there.
Correct.
The remains that, of course, then they would go on to confirm, match the description, and then was, in fact, Gabby Petito. It was 3 to 4 weeks before that Gabby Petito died of strangulation. And those dates are, so within that 3 to 4 week time window now, that makes it August 22nd to August 29th. But I'm going to bring up here, I'm going to put away, I'm going to read Kim's comment here, then I'm going to put it away because we're going to get to the timeline here. And I see Walt Buteau is hanging out. And Walt, if you'd like to sit down, you're more than welcome to sit on a mic if you'd like. We're kind of all just kind of processing this news here in the newsroom. Kim Brower, hashtag HeyJB. If the time of death is 3 to 4 weeks, that means that he killed her right after being separated. Could this be why he came home for a week to get his exit prepared? And this is just one of the different types of comments that we're seeing out there.
Let's get real, people.
Kim,
let's get real, people. Okay, all right. So right there, that adds that lines right up with him taking a plane home and then flying back, right? So he goes home, probably meets with his lawyer, explains everything that happens, and then the lawyer probably gives him horrible advice, tells him to go back and do whatever you got to do, create an alibi, whatever, right? Like, so the parents knew. The parents should be charged. In my personal opinion, the parents should be charged with something. You're going to report them missing to cover your own assets? Get out of my face with that shit. Come on now.
But let's put away your comment really quickly.
Jump in real quick on this. I think this more fits into that period of the 27th to the 30th, JB.
Yep.
That is when the FBI has put out a request for information from people who are in the Bridger Teton National Forest, Spread Creek, dispersed camping area, the 27th to the 30th. So again, he has that 3 to 4 week window. I'm still honed in on those days, the 27th to the 30th. He was also asked about whether an actual date of death will be put on her death certificate. He said it might just be a date range. They might never know exactly the date it was, JB, but I'm honed in on about 3.5 weeks before the 19th would fall right in that 27th to the 29th of August. Those are the dates I'm most honed in on from this news conference.
I agree. And I think we also have to focus on the 27th is the last day
except sunlight.
that somebody saw her. This 27th is the last day she texted her mother. And the doctor, the coroner also pointed out, under Wyoming law, he doesn't have to put a date on there. He can put a date range. And again, and by the way, the 27th is also the day that the van was spotted by the video, the woman from Spring Hill, right? So the 27th, again, I agree with Justin. I think that period of time is still there. Obviously, it's possible they can go all the way back to that 4-week range, but I think they kind of do that out of precaution, right? I still think those 3 dates are key.
I want to really quickly show our audience here a live picture from, we'll tap the touchscreen here. We'll go live to outside of the laundry home here. We're just keeping an eye here on the laundry home here to see if there's any neighbors that gather.
Dude, he's right there.
This
Look.
is now, of course, a story that has led to this day as far as the coroner releasing the cause of death for Gabrielle Petito, and it being that Gabby Petito died of strangulation.
JB, if I could just jump in one more thing, because you did tease this, our colleague Masa Saidi during that news conference,
that's right,
and I have it right here to read if you don't mind, if I can go ahead, JB.
Absolutely.
So as we take a look at the laundry home, a reminder at this point, the only crime that Brian Laundrie has been charged with is debit card fraud. This is the news statement just into the newsroom, courtesy of our colleague investigator Masa Saidi. It says, quote from Stephen Bertolino, Gabby Petito's death at such a young age is a tragedy. While Brian Laundrie is currently charged with the unauthorized use of a debit card belonging to Gabby, Brian is only considered a person of interest in relation to Gabby Petito's demise. At this time, Brian is still missing. When he is located, we will address the pending fraud charges against him, end quote. That is the news statement, courtesy of Masa Saidi from Stephen Bertolino.
Kelsey, behave. You don't want none of this. You ain't ready for this. Calm down over there. Calm down.
Jumped out to me, JB, is that this statement acknowledges that he is accused of fraud using Gabby's card, which the charging document did not say. The family attorney on Dr. Phil did say they believed it was her card. Here is the attorney for the Laundrie family acknowledging that he is charged with unauthorized access to her bank account, which I think is significant.
I'm sure that it's just small compared to the looming charge that could be out there, provided that, of course, if he is named a suspect, that charge, of course, being, would that charge be murder? Debit card, that charge of use of unauthorized access devices of an amount aggregated to more than $1,000. It's probably
that's a super far-fetched theory right there, Donna Stokes. Yo, what is your all's problem over there, man? Hey, y'all calm down. Thank you. Dog's over here going crazy. Do I think the parents maybe lost it and offed him? No, I don't. It's possible, but no, I don't.
Really small time compared to, of course, what could be around the corner here. But again, we got to stay rooted in reality because listen, Stephen Bertolino is 100% right. I know that there's a lot of comments here flying up and down our screens here from YouTube and on Facebook right now. As frustrating as it might be for some of our audience joining us here live right now, Brian Laundrie is still just a person of interest.
But he's wanted for this federal charge, and that obviously changed his status from just a missing person to a wanted fugitive. And that was another one of the twists, JB, in this whole case. Another headline, a rumor we can say is now put to rest, is the coroner did say she was not pregnant. That's been a lot of speculation. There's another hard no when that was asked. So I want to mention that to any of our viewers just joining us.
No.
There have been speculations, analyzing photos near the white van, but the coroner came out and said definitively Miss Petito was not pregnant at the time of her death.
We have a ton of #HeyJB, #HeyJustin. You can also now use, of course, #HeyWalt for 8 on your side. Senior investigator Walt Buteau joining us here in our stream center. And let's get to Debbie Solis's comment, because Justin, you shouted this out to the newsroom as soon as we.
I'm glad you asked this, Janelle. I think the sister already cracked. I think the sister is absolutely in full cooperation with the FBI. And I think that that's why Brian's parents are not talking to her. I think that she was, according to Dog, she was registered as one of the people in that campsite for that camping trip. And I think that whatever information that she may have gathered, we have no idea of knowing what it was. She has cooperated with the FBI and given them every bit of information, and her parents are not talking to her now. According to her, her parents are not talking to her. So I believe that she is in full cooperation with the FBI. She's just not sharing anything publicly because she does not want to hinder the FBI's ongoing investigation.
We heard this, Debbie.
Yeah.
Hashtag KJB, hashtag KJustin. Did Dr. Blue, he made the statement
I was
regarding
shocked.
domestic abuse. Did he slip up
To
there in
me,
that moment?
I think he might have. Again, John Walsh asked the question on everybody's mind, could a certain person of interest have done this? He said, that is not my job. That is the role of the FBI and law enforcement. But when asked about all the attention this case has received, he did make note of there are a lot of, sadly, other instances of domestic violence across the country. And the use of those two words, I did not expect to hear that,
He
JB.
slipped.
For most of the press conference, he was very straightforward with the
And-
medical analysis, but he did make that comment. And as Debbie heard it, I shouted out here in the newsroom. I was surprised to hear that mention as well. But we do know, JB, as we've talked about the positives from this tragedy. Again, we don't know all the answers here. We'll go what they say, that there has been a raising awareness. We know Gabby's father has talked about, if you're in a bad relationship, look to get out there. And hopefully this awful tragedy can lead to other positive change for people who are in bad relationships.
I was surprised by the domestic abuse comment there, Walt, given of course, the magnitude of the viewership, the amount of people that were watching.
Yeah.
I think we had about 250,000 or so people watching just our stream. I can't imagine all the live streams across the internet, just how many people were watching that moment. So, Walt, I'm sure you were as surprised as any that was uttered. We heard Dr. Blue there saying repeatedly, I have to stay focused on what the results of the autopsy are, what the body tells me. He can't even go into super specifics without compromising, of course, the federal investigation. So for him to say that there, that's a curious moment, of course, here in the press
Dr.
conference.
Blue also reflected on, after a question by, it seemed like I think it was a Jackson, Wyoming reporter about, I think he called him, whether it's true or not, a small town coroner. I mean,
So throttling, according to somebody's definition that they stated here, means strangling, choking with your hands. So I'm of the opinion that she, in his opinion, mouthed off, and he felt what's the word? Disempowered by her, and reacted, and behaved exactly how a coward woman beating shitbag would. So, well, no, I'm saying that that's how he would probably describe it, and that's how he would probably try to justify it, because he's a total shitbag.
He's never has he faced that much media, nor will he probably ever again. So did he slip up? Perhaps he could have got caught up in the moment that many people actually for many days have insisted this must be a case of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
That's why it's getting so much attention.
Yeah, Vincent Harris,
We
sit
saw
your ass
domestic
down.
abuse in this case involving Gabby
Good job,
Petito.
Amethyst.
To hint that the end of her life involved domestic abuse, obviously a potential slip up. But again, it's a puzzle that's being put together. And to Justin's point about the about now knowing it's Gabby Petito's credit card because the attorney said that is something that that's something that many people have reached out to me. that I kept saying we didn't know it was Gabby Petito's credit card because we didn't. The document didn't say it.
We know her
The
family
parents
attorney
did, but
told
they didn't say
Dr.
it to
Phil.
me.
Yeah.
They didn't say it to me.
Yep.
Now we have the attorney saying it. So
Here-
again, it's pieces to the puzzle.
The direct quote, we can go back, listen to the tape, was that Dr. Blue said this is one of many
speak on
deaths
this
involved in
comment real
domestic
quick.
violence. Those are the words I jotted down.
First of all, I want to thank ZBD for leaving this comment, because that is absolutely what the focus needs to be. The focus of this case needs to be the dangers of DV. Absolutely 100%. That is the absolute issue here. Okay. Make no mistake about it. If you or anyone you know is in what you could even remotely consider to be in a DV relationship, do what you need to get out. Do anything that you can to get out. Reach out. We have Amethyst is posting the link here in the chat. Please reach out. Get out of that situation as quickly as you possibly can, whatever it takes, because this case shows us the dangers of what DV can do, how far it can go. This is a case of DV, and the awareness needs to be focused on DV. Absolutely 100%.
As he said that. So we'll go back, listen to the tape. And again, it was a surprising moment given how tight-lipped he was about a lot of the questions, in the
Mr. Bertolino is going to get a lot of questions about that statement, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, this was Dr. Blue. The one
I know, but Mr. Bertolino is going to get questions about that statement, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Let me pass along here one more time. I want to read Stephen Bertolino's statement one more time because people are still asking for it.
For anybody that doesn't understand, okay? This isn't about clicks and views, okay? This is about bringing awareness to a very, very serious issue that doesn't have enough attention. And we know that this doesn't have enough attention right now because of that body cam footage, because of how the police dealt with the situation. And I believe that they did the best they could. I really do. But I believe that there's a lack of training. I believe that there's a lack of priority in police departments generally when it comes to DV situations, and it's being underplayed. And so I'm grateful that this case is so public that it's bringing attention to that issue. But the issue that needs to be focused on is absolutely, without a doubt, DV. 100%.
More time. This is Stephen Bertolino, Brian Laundrie's attorney, now responding here during the press conference. Now, not even waiting for the press conference to be over, responding during the press conference. And it reads as follows: Gabby Petito's death at such a young age is a tragedy. While Brian Laundrie is currently charged with the unauthorized use of a debit card belonging to Gabby, Brian is only considered a person of interest in relation to Gabby Petito's demise. At this time, Brian is still missing, and when he is located, we will address the pending fraud charge.
Petito's credit card, because
listen
the
to this
attorney
again.
said that.
This
that
is
something
this
that,
is the Laundrie's
that's something
attorney's
that
statement.
Many people have reached out to me that I kept saying we didn't know it was Gabby.
This is the Laundrie's attorney's statement. So we're going to hear this one more time. Okay, guys?
Petito's credit card because we didn't. The document didn't say it.
We know her family attorney
but
told
they didn't say
Dr.
it to
Phil.
me.
Yeah.
They didn't say it to me.
Yep.
Now we have the attorney
This is
saying
coming-
it.
it's coming up right now.
It's pieces to the puzzle.
The direct quote, we can go back, listen to the tape, was that Dr. Blue said this is one of many deaths involved in domestic violence. Those are the words I jotted down here as he said that. So we'll go back, listen to the tape. And again, it was a surprising moment given how tight-lipped he was about a lot of the questions, in the
Mr.
speculation
Bertolino is
case.
going to get a lot of questions about that statement, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, this was Dr. Blue. The one
I know, but Mr. Bertolino is going to get questions about that statement.
Right? Let me pass along here one more time. I want to read Stephen Bertolino's statement one more time because people are still asking for it. One more time. This is Stephen Bertolino, Brian Laundrie's attorney, now responding here during the press conference. Now, not even waiting for the press conference to be over, responding during the press conference. And it reads as
Asshole.
follows. Gabby Petito's death at such a young age is a tragedy. While Brian Laundrie is currently charged with the unauthorized use of a debit card belonging to Gabby, Brian is only considered a person of interest in relation to Gabby Petito's demise. At this time, Brian is still missing, and when he is located, we will address the pending fraud charge against him.
In the words of the Petito family attorney, he is, quote, hiding, not missing. That is what Mr. Stafford has said on the record since he was.
Make no mistake, people. Make no mistake, people. At no point has the Laundrie's attorney spoken out and said, Brian, please come forward. Your life is in danger. By the police looking for you, your life is in danger. For the sake of your parents, turn yourself in. Because your parents are worried about you. If you're out there, right? They reported him missing, didn't they? Right? Am I crazy? Because they reported him missing. So why isn't there a public plea from his family for him to return home safely? Turn himself into the police. Turn yourself into the police, and we'll get through this. We'll figure it out. We haven't gotten that from his parents. Why is that? Why is that? And they have not denied, you're absolutely right, Christy Myers. They have not denied that he has done anything to Gabby. Yeah, they did say something like that, which is a lame excuse because you don't do that. If you're worried about your son and you're worried about his safety, you're going to do anything you can. Maybe he got a hold of a cell phone. Maybe he's sitting in front of somebody's TV. Maybe he's sitting in front of somebody's computer. Maybe anything. Please come home. Please turn yourself in. This has gotten out of hand. Please come home. He hasn't done that. Neither one of these parents have done that. That's what this is about. Brian Laundrie is a punk bitch. Period. Period. Where I come from, where I grew up, you consider a guy like that a punk bitch.
Was reported missing.
Really quick, because we're about to lose this shot here. Just one more quick look here from outside of the home here. Very quiet outside of the Laundrie home. So people were asking, what is it like outside the home right now? Nothing to report as far as any activity there at the Laundrie home. Back with you here live on WFLA Now. Let's bring Walt back in here. JB Buno, Justin Schecker, 8 on your side, senior investigator Walt Buteau joining us here, everybody. You can use any of the hashtags here on your screen, and we can feature your comments here live on WFLA Now. But I really want to get now into the timeline and asking and taking some of the questions like these. And you can use these hashtags, everybody. We can animate your comments on screen if you do so. Angel Morgan, hashtag HJB. If you came back to Florida on August 17th to clean out a storage room, has anyone checked on the storage room? He strangled her and probably out of anger. Again, this is just one of the comments here from our audience here. And then also to Maggie Joanna, hashtag HJB. Hi, I had a question. When was the last text message to her mom regarding Stan? So let's get it. Let's get into this.
27th.
We're going to scroll here.
27th.
We're going to scroll here together on our
That's the
screen.
one that she called odd. She said it was odd because she didn't call her grandfather Stan.
Yep. Let's kind of go through this here together now. And now we can kind of piece together now this timeline a little bit. Okay, everybody, this is the timeline from WFLA.com and the WFLA app. August 17th, Gabby posts photos from Arches National Park in Moab, Utah. Brian flies home to Florida from Salt Lake City to obtain some items and empty a close storage unit to save money.
Let me address this comment real quick. He just increased personal defense for women nationwide for sure. No, he didn't do that. We did that. We did that. You did that. Those of us talking about this, sharing this information, talking about this information, creating a circle of conversation about this situation is what's creating awareness for DV. Make no mistake. Brian did not, I'm not going to give him any credit for that. I'm not giving him any credit for that. We're doing this. Dad Challenge Podcast is doing this. 10 to Life is doing this. We're doing that. You're doing that by joining this chat and discussing this issue. You're doing that. Brian Laundrie does not get any credit as far as I'm concerned when it comes to this.
Money, according to attorney Stephen Bertolino. So Brian flies home, leaves Gabby, flies home to Florida, leaves Gabby on August 17th. Scrolling down here on WFLA.com, August 19th, Gabby and Brian post an 8-minute video documenting the beginning of their van life journey on their Nomadic Static YouTube channel. That coming while Brian, of course, was in Florida. That being posted, that 8-minute video being posted to their social account. Okay, fast forward now to August 21st, and I'll explain how this now impacts the timeline that we've just now gotten some key dates here. Gabby's father, Joe Petito, last speaks with his daughter in a FaceTime call on August 21st. He helps her order a pizza in Salt Lake City and talks to her about the trip so far. He later says that he notices no red flags during this conversation here on August 21st. Now, there should be now a new, and we'll add this, or we'll try to add this here.
Yeah.
The 22nd now
would be 4 weeks.
Thank you, Justin. Would be 4 weeks
before her body's found in the wilderness.
Which would be now, according to, and we don't know if how precise that timeline is, but according to Dr. Brent Blue, 3 to 4 weeks before the body was found is when she died of strangulation, which means that the most early date would be August 22nd.
Yeah.
However, Brian flies back to Salt Lake City to rejoin Gabby on the 23rd, and on the 25th now, on August 25th, now 3 days after that 4-week point here in the timeline, Gabby's mother, Nicole Schmidt, last speaks with her daughter on the phone while Gabby was near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. So couldn't, based on this timeline and based on what we have as far as the events here, couldn't have died August 22nd,
for sure.
23rd, or 24th.
Make no mistake here, people. Now, it's obviously not the case in Gabby Petito's case. Obviously not. But absolutely, you can absolutely be a victim of DV if you're a man. Absolutely. I've been that victim. So I understand how that is. And with men, with certain aspects of it can be even more dangerous. You know, I mean, it's you know, men are less likely. I never called the cops on anybody. You know what I mean? Like I gotten my ass beat. I've been stabbed. You know what I mean? I have a scar right here. I've been stabbed, literally. Why? Because I wanted to go to band practice. You know what I mean? So yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely dangerous. And men are just, we're proud like that sometimes, man. Like I'm not calling the cops. You know what I mean? So yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you are in a relationship where there's DV going on, just because a woman, if you're a man and a woman is hitting you and you can take it because you're a man, it doesn't mean you should put up with it. It definitely doesn't mean you should put up with it, because something terrible could happen.
Based on this phone call that Nicole says that she got from Gabby on the 25th.
Again, I'm still honed in on the 27th to the 30th. Those are the days.
And that's what we're getting.
Keep scrolling down. Yeah,
we'll keep scrolling down here. Now down to August 27th. This is where, okay, back to the commenter here. Maggie Joanna here, #AJB. I had a question. When was the last text message to her mom regarding Stan? So Gabby asking, you shall receive. Gabby's mother receives an odd text on August 27th that leaves her a little worried that something is wrong, according to the search warrant. Gabby and Brian visit a restaurant in Wyoming. Staff members and other diners later recall an unspecified incident with the couple.
And the restaurant did put that out on their Instagram page, saying that they had contacted the authorities about whatever they observed.
I have horrible taste in women. You're absolutely right. This is where I take accountability. I have horrible taste in women. I just do. I always go for the crazy ones. I don't know why. I don't know, man. I think it's my ADHD. I think I just get bored real easy, and the crazy ones keep me on my toes. Maybe, I don't know. I'm quick to get rid of them, but you know, like I don't know why. Okay, Kelsey, you got to stop. Okay, listen, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to keep it totally real with you. Okay, beautiful girl. Okay, but I'm married. Okay, I'm married. I'm married to myself. Okay, because I avoid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of women. I'm afraid of crazy women. That is where I'm at this point in my life. I am absolutely and totally afraid of crazy women. So I am married to myself now. So yeah, but I appreciate it.
Observed that day.
There was another blogger from New Orleans who saw
on
that
Instagram
says
and-
she
yep.
saw the couple at the restaurant, and that Brian got angry with a waitress that they left. So again, that's 27th, but I guess, was it really Gabby? We don't know, but it seems like they fit the description. And again, the 27th, we think later in the afternoon is when
the red, white, and buffoon
Yes.
bloggers on their GoPro, they spotted the white
van
at the
in
camping
an
area.
area that tipped off investigators
The
to
next
where
day they found her body.
where the body
they
was
would, they
found.
wouldn't specifically confirm that to us as they went to
But
answer
it was-
questions,
it
but it
gave
was
them
in
a
that
starting
window,
point.
that
Yeah.
they were able to narrow down where
Yeah.
she could be.
August 30th, Gabby's mother receives a final text from Gabby, but does not confirm over the phone that it was her.
Yep.
And then, of course, August 30th to September 1st, Brian Laundrie uses a Capital One bank debit card and personal ID number for
And we
two bank
can add that
accounts.
citing the attorney, it's her card.
It is Gabby's card.
And that from the news release, not the court document, but the FBI news release
Said-
from the news release said the crime happened following
Gabby's
the death of Gabby Petito. And so we now, again, can at least believe, again, allegedly, because this is science, it's not
charge.
exact, but the charge would say that she was dead sometime on the 30th. And then
Before
that.
30th, yeah.
So again, the 27th to the 30th looms large in the end of this girl's life.
It does. These final days here
I'm not
of
laughing at
August.
what they're saying right now. I'm laughing at the comment,
The timeline
just
has
for the
been
record.
condensed.
That's my man, Mr. Harlan's Tales of History, famous burglars. The last girlfriend I had was an amateur boxer. Even though we no longer date, I'm still friends with her. I guess I was sort of crazy as well. My mom sure thought I was. What happened, dude? What happened, Jimmy boy? Did she beat your ass? Is that what happened? You can't date crazy and an amateur boxer. That's foolish even for me. I ain't doing that. Kelly Bain, welcome back. I don't think that Jesus is as good of a lover as I am, though. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just being silly.
After, of course, being dissected and being, of course, so many points being added on the timeline,
Yeah, it's
and
been
it's
interesting.
really, really become more concise here, and we now have a better idea as to when Gabby Petito lost her life. And again, for those of you just joining us, it was of strangulation, according to the coroner.
And with that we now also know, we don't know, but it would be interesting to get a legal expert on here because strangulation is going to be we're not talking if it's proven in court. We're not talking about criminally negligent homicide with a strangulation. We're not talking about manslaughter. We are more than likely talking about first or second degree. I'm not an attorney, but if it was a blunt force trauma and she fell is one thing, but strangulation, I think
that's as
a lawyer
personal
would
as it
tell
gets.
us, no matter who
It's as
did
personal as it gets.
that there's an intent with
There's
that
intent to
particular
at
crime.
least harm.
You
an
didn't
intent of
stop,
harm,
right?
yeah.
Intent to harm, sure,
Yeah.
right? That's true.
I've been interacting with some of the folks on Reddit on the Gabby Petito subreddit, and I think really what needs to happen now, and I know that I've already seen a little bit of this going on, but there needs to be now a zoomed in timeline. zoomed. We have, of course, a very broad timeline. I mean, this timeline here, for example, on WFLA.com
We go
goes
back to
all the way
July,
back
yep.
to July 2nd when they left.
Yeah.
But what there needs to be now is a super hyper specific
My mods will
timeline
drop my
for those days
OnlyFans
for really August.
the last week of August.
Really, the last week of August.
From
the
when he
25th to the 30th.
Yeah.
Yep. To really the 31st to really up until
to the first when
of
he
September.
comes back all the way across country. What 24-hour drive back to?
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to be working on here now, as far as now really getting into the nitty gritty of those final days here.
Yeah.
And because now we have it confirmed here from a credible law enforcement or credible, of course, agency here, as far as the coroner's office here, we can really now get super hyper specific as to the timeline on those various days.
Yeah.
Let's get to this question for you, Walt, and it comes from Lori and
She is, right, Christy?
hashtag Hey Walt. Could the parents be charged for hindering the investigation?
So, there's federal charges, there are state charges.
Cherry's gonna turn that
hindering
girl
the
out.
investigation, I believe, yes, in both cases. But that would involve getting in the way of the investigation, hiding this or hiding that. Accessory after the fact in Florida and federally, first and second degree. There's first and second degree where you could be charged, but there's also a third degree where a parent can't be charged. There's immunity for a parent in a third degree case where they cannot be charged, but in this case, it seems like it would be a first or second degree. So the parent, I don't like this question. I'm actually sorry I answered it, because the parents aren't charged with anything and we don't want to speculate, but there definitely charges are possible in cases like this, but nothing's been proven about those parents at all. Nothing.
There's no speculation. The parents suck.
J.D. Buno, Walt
There's no
Petito,
speculation
Justin
on that.
Checker
It's
here,
a fact.
everybody, getting to
The
some of the other
parents
comments
are
and questions that have come in here. And how about Maddie Goddard, hashtag Hey JB, hashtag Hey Justin. It was so frustrating, people asking questions, even though he clearly stated he can't answer because it's against Wyoming law. And Walt, it's not even just against Wyoming law, it's really against federal law. I mean, federal law, an ongoing federal investigation. There was really only so much that we were going to get here. And there were some folks out there saying we didn't know. We didn't know if we were going to get the cause of death, but we now have it, of course, that it was strangulation. And I'm trying to go, I'm going to go back to my notes here, answering a question there from Ashley Banfield and asked, was it obvious?
Right. Good question.
This was something I was wondering. I'm glad that Ashley asked it. Ashley, part of News Nation.
Let me tell you something.
Asked,
Go back and listen to my earlier lives when I was going over the body cam footage. I already speculated that it was strangulation because of the fact that Brian grabbed her face so hard that it left marks. Okay? And yet the Moab police somehow overlooked this. They somehow overlooked this. They were focused on who did what to who first. And in their minds, and I understand this, but it's not right. But in their minds, they were like, okay, we can't just judge a man for being a man. If she says she attacked him first, if she says that, and it's coming from Gabby herself on the body cam footage, she's saying she attacked him first, right? So that's what the Moab police were going by. But the fact of the matter is I knew it. As soon as I heard her say he grabbed my face and hard enough to leave marks. Yeah. Fucking knew it. Fucking knew it.
Coroners, they do hundreds, if not thousands, of medical examinations. Many of them, of course, some of the more experienced ones across the country. And it's going to be some are going to be more obvious than others. We've talked about this on stream before, and that some are just going to be pretty clear cut. Others are going to. Exact words were, in this case, nothing is obvious. And that could just be sort of his approach to conducting an autopsy. And
it's a smart thing for him to say.
It is. It's very smart for him to say. But he says nothing is obvious, and it might have.
That shit is crazy. I was lucky enough to get out of my DV situation because my ex went to prison for murder. My dad told me that he was always afraid that he was going to kill me. Jesus, you are incredibly lucky. You are incredibly lucky. The person that he murdered, not so lucky. and I'm not joking. I'm not making jokes. I'm just saying that you are incredibly fortunate. Wow.
It might not have been something that right off the bat that he knew was strangulation when, of course, he began the autopsy itself.
And you think about it, he began the autopsy
I don't know about that.
was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, or the body was discovered 2 weeks ago.
I don't know about that. You're saying that it probably wasn't obvious. I'm going to say it was. Because here's the thing. This is why if throttling actually means, if that's what this coroner meant in their written statement, being the cause of death, if throttling actually means what it means, which is being choked to death by someone's hands, well, then guess what? There's going to be bruising, and there's going to be fingerprints, and there's going to be skin DNA. There's going to be touch DNA. Okay? So,
what's the timeline?
September 19th.
September 19th.
Yeah.
So almost 3 weeks ago, is that right?
Coming up on
So, and the body had been there for a while. I would bet that in this case, nothing was obvious. Very well makes sense. The body had been there a little while, we think, and sadly, so how obvious could it have been? Anything could it have been? But you can also reflect back on, they somehow knew it was they suspected it was a homicide 1 or 2 days after the body was found. So something told them, and that was the FBI that held that news conference, by the way. The FBI doesn't say things that they're not sure of. Obviously, law enforcement tends to not do that, but especially the FBI. And
has anyone bothered to check if Ben Laundrie has a criminal record, a prior criminal record? I'm curious about that.
Them to say that 1 or 2 days after, something must have been apparent, if not obvious, that led them to believe it was a homicide.
Getting to some other questions and comments that are coming in here, and I'm just reading through some of them. You can use hashtag HeyJB, folks. File them in, hashtag HeyJustin, hashtag HeyWalt. You know, let's just, I would just like to just kind of address just something that I was thinking about, and I'm sure a lot of were thinking about. That this is to strangle somebody, to strangle the life out of another human being. And if anybody follows any true crime, documentaries,
real
anything
crime
like that,
crime.
you know that to
Real crime,
strangle
Jeff
somebody is such a, first of all, it's just a god awful way to go. It's just so terrible. It's just absolutely so terrible. And it is, and I have heard experts say that it is an extremely, there's no good way to die, but it's an extremely personal method.
I was going to say the same thing.
I've heard that, somebody.
Right. I've heard that from investigators.
To literally choke the life out of somebody.
It's horrifying.
And we don't know whether or not, when it comes to strangulation here, whether or not a fight occurred and things just got carried away. We don't know if there was an intent for this person to literally choke the life out of her and end her life, or it was a fight or it was just some kind of a struggle, an altercation that got out of hand, and it happened and it wasn't intended. It was just an altercation that got out of hand. But it's just such a personal and what means to kill another human being.
The intent factor, though, is the intent factor has a extra dose of resonance here just because of that particular cause.
And one thing the coroner would not say is whether or not the body was dragged or buried anywhere, as to where they found it, if that's where the actual strangulation occurred. He declined to answer that, saying that would be part of the police investigation. So we don't know if that was the place.
I'm going to tell y'all right now. I think she was killed in or near the van And I think that her body was transported from the van to that location. 90 yards, guys. 90 yards from the van, from where it was shot by those YouTubers, Red, White, and Butane. I'm telling you right now that I believe that she was transported from that van to, I mean, why would you think otherwise? It was because of the van footage that they were able to find her body. So, yeah. So I don't think, I mean, did he drag her 90 feet? Probably. He can't carry her. He's a weak little bitch. So he can't carry her.
Where the strangulation happened. Where
I just want to one more time here, just kind of explain what I meant by that.
No, I know you. I know.
And for our audience, I know that you guys know,
Yes.
but I want to explain what I meant by that comment. You kill somebody with a gunshot to the head. Let's just say that manner.
Their supermodel in my chat. Awesome. So Mel Gypsy, supermodel number 2. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. Why didn't he even bother to hide her body? Well, in his mind, he did, right? We're talking about a lazy, entitled douchebag. Let me tell you guys something. I talked about this many, many times. I'm going to go into it again real quick. All right? I'm going to go into it again real quick. I could never, ever, ever, ever be a killer. Okay? There's just too much work into it. First of all, I don't have the energy to hate someone as much to kill them. I just don't have it in me. I don't have the energy, right? So that's point 1. Point 2 is, have you bothered to look into really think about what it takes to get rid of the evidence and get away with murder? Have you looked into that? Like, it is that, like, covering these real crime cases. I'm telling you right now, there is so much work into it. Like, DNA is everywhere. It's fucking everywhere. Okay? It just is. Okay? Like, there's so much meticulous cleaning and moving and carrying heavy stuff. I mean, there's too much. There's too much. It's too much work. I'm tell y'all, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, man. I'm too damn lazy to be a killer. I'm too damn lazy to hate somebody enough to kill them. That's a lot of work to hate somebody that much. Think about it. Just to have that much energy where I'm like, "Argh!" Like that's I'm exhausted thinking about it. You know what I mean? Not doing it.
Of homicide, that manner of murder, that is one moment where you pull a trigger, and then if it's a fatal blow with the firearm, that's that. It's you can't really go back in time. It's over with. Now, you can't go back in time with any meat, but what I was getting at is that when the means of strangulation, killing somebody via strangulation, you're doing it, it's not instantaneous. You're doing it over a period of time. Yeah. And you have time, even though you're probably, that person, the suspect, the killer in this case, is in tremendous emotional distress, as of course the person is the victim in the case is in tremendous emotional, physical, all kinds of distress. I mean, they're having literally the life choked out of them. They have an opportunity while the suspect is doing this to stop, to think, to stop and process. But that didn't happen here. That we have a manner of death via strangulation where somebody strangled Gabby Petito to death and didn't stop when they had an opportunity to. And you have an opportunity to, and you didn't.
There are I've covered many court cases where I've seen defense attorneys argue about
there's no way you're going to tell me he wasn't aware that
someone shot
opportunity
someone
when
to
it happened.
death about intent.
No way you're going to tell me that.
Well, you got your finger on the trigger. You didn't intend to kill them. but intent can be, I remember an attorney doing this in court, intent can happen like this with a gunshot. Again, did I mean to kill the guy? Did I not mean to kill the guy? And that ups the charge. That ups what the charge is. But yeah, I think intent in this sort of case, in a strangulation, if you believe the internet, a strangulation takes
right there on the
3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes.
And Jen Saucy here saying, and I have heard this terminology used as well, that strangulation is considered a crime of passion.
It's face to face, right?
Yeah,
Eyes to eyes.
unless you're doing it from behind, or in perhaps
or it's after the fact, or
or using a device.
Unconscious.
Yep.
See, that's
all
always been my
horrible
theory
stuff.
on
all
Chris
it's
Watts
all
thing. I think that Chris strangled Shanann from behind. That's always been my theory. There was a sheet. I think the sheet that was in the garbage can was the murder weapon. And I think that what he did was he got behind Shanann with the sheet and used. I'd love to know if Shanann actually had any bruising on her back, because I feel like he had leverage. He used his knee to get leverage against her back. And you know what I'm saying? And choke her from behind. That's what I think actually happened. Personally, that's just my opinion, because that's the only thing that I can make sense of the sheet being in the garbage can in the kitchen.
Just it's god awful to envision. Yeah. And what was really, I'm sure, gut wrenching for a lot of folks, and it's only human to feel this way, is that we've been looking here at pictures of Gabby Petito. We've been looking here at pictures of Brian Laundrie. And while, again, Brian Laundrie is not a suspect in her homicide, just a person of interest, we've seen these pictures, and to think about it ending via strangulation, it makes your heart drop. It makes your heart sink. It's a difficult day for, I'm sure, many of our WFLA Now viewers. I just want to, if anybody wants to talk about it, I'm here in any capacity that I can do. We're going to stay here with you live for a little bit longer. Justin,
see, I don't like
Walt,
that.
How long do you guys have here? I think we were going to try to go
I don't like that.
a little longer here. How long?
Because I feel like the heart is in the right place when it comes to that. I'm going to explain to you guys something. This is why I have my mods drop these links to the DV hotline, to the suicide prevention hotlines, because I'm not a mental health professional. So I don't encourage you to email me with your problems and ask me for advice, because I'm not qualified to help you through that. I would encourage you to reach out to someone who actually is, because I want you to get help. I'm not a glory hound. I don't have some need to save people. You know what I mean? I want to help in any way I can, but I understand my place. My place is to create awareness. This guy's place is to create awareness. Don't tell people, hey, contact me and we'll talk through it. Don't do that, because you're not qualified to do that unless you have a mental health professional degree of some way, shape, or form. You are not qualified to talk people through these serious problems. You need to refer them, and be responsible, and refer them to someone who is qualified. That's what your responsibility is. That's what my responsibility is at best. Okay. So that's why. So I have to be very, very clear about that.
I'm fine, JB.
I'm fine, JB. We can hang as long as you need to.
Yeah, these guys, of course, have their television reports to file for WFLA News Channel 8. Let's get to this one here from Angela Koosh, and I'll let you guys take this one. I want to really get a lot of, from across all of our platforms here, #HeyJB, #HeyJustin, #HeyWalt comments and questions
Kelsey.
here. So start following them in here now if there's something you want us to feature here on stream. But Walt, can you read this question here?
Yeah, so Stan was her grandfather, according to Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's mother. Stan was her grandfather's name. I'd heard somewhere there was potential plans to visit him at some point, but Nicole Schmidt told police in one of our first affidavits in this case, a search warrant affidavit for either electronics or the van, one of the two, that she found it odd. She called it, quote, odd, that her daughter would refer to her grandfather by his first name. And of course, at that point, we don't have the other, like you talked about the timeline, we don't have the other points in the timeline.
Now, some YouTubers
so when she said it was odd, there was a lot of speculation.
Some YouTubers are debunking that. the whole Stan thing, I think that actually makes the most sense, that she reached out for help and said, and was trying to say, send the authorities now. And I think that he had absolute access to all of her electronics. I think he had absolute access to all of her. He's a controlling prick, right? As a controlling prick, well, chances are you're going to have access to all of her social media because you're an insecure douchebag. And I absolutely believe that Brian Laundrie is an insecure douchebag. And he had access to all of her social media. That's what I personally believe. Again, I'm just speculating here, but I absolutely believe that. And I think that she had to speak in code to try to reach out and get help. And I think that's exactly what she did. I don't think that had anything to do with her grandfather. I think that she tried to send a text, which was basically an SOS.
That may be eliminated now, that was not sent by Gabby, but the code Stan, I was about to look it up. My wife actually told me about that. Stan is code for, do you know, JB, off the top of your head?
Send the authorities now.
Send something
I
now.
just had it.
Stan code.
Send the authorities now. Thank you.
Send the authorities now. Of course, I mean, it would be awfully coincidental that her grandfather's name is Stan and she said Stan as a code, but anything's possible. Anything's possible. And that's on the 27th when the van is spotted. But yeah, that Stan is here's what we know. Stan is the grandfather, according to Nicole Schmidt. It was
that's an interesting detail right there. So that text was sent the same day, guys, the same day that the van was spotted by red, white, and butane, right? Same day, okay? This is the same day that I believe, this is where I think that he was actually getting rid of Gabby's body, because her body was found 90 feet from where that van was shot in that footage, okay? So I absolutely believe that. And that only makes me, the fact that that was sent the same day absolutely makes me believe that she felt that her life was in danger at some point, and she sent that text, and that text was absolutely code for send the authorities now. I absolutely believe that.
For Gabby to use the word Stan to call her grandfather by the name Stan. We know that. We don't know about the code.
Let's get to some other questions and comments that are coming in here, and I'm going to try to add as many. Megan Den asking a great question. Hashtag hey JB, hashtag hey Walt, and Justin, we were talking about this while the press conference was underway. Can you go over the toxicology report again? And we didn't get any toxicology information here in this press conference.
He did not reveal any results of the toxicology. He went over, there's 4 potential manners of death: homicide, a natural death, accidental death. This obviously being ruled a homicide by strangulation. But again, for the most part, Dr. Brent Blue was.
Alexandra, that's a good question, but I'm just a YouTuber. Nobody, and I'm gonna let you know now. Anybody whose chat that you're in that claims to have information like that is lying, because the FBI is not going to let anybody know what the details of their investigation are. I promise you that. So there's no way for me to know if they have done that. But to answer your question as best as I can, I would absolutely assume so. You're asking, do I happen to know if the FBI check manifests on outgoing international flights? I would guarantee that you can count on the idea that they would have done that. Absolutely. I think so, sure. But if anybody tries to say that they know for a fact that the FBI has done that, they're lying, because the FBI is not going to let anybody know what the details of their investigation are currently. I promise you that. So just to save you some trouble moving on in the future and going on YouTube channels, just understand that one fact: the FBI is not releasing any type of information like that. So if anybody says that they have that kind of information, they are lying. They are trash YouTubers.
Fairly tight-lipped and he did not reveal any toxicology results.
Let's get to this one here from, I'll let you take this one here, Walt. It's from Donovan Roos, #KJB. Is this now considered a murder investigation?
Homicide is the blanket of somebody being killed by someone else. Murder is a charge. There's first, depending on Wyoming and there's federal law. If this falls under federal law, which it very well might be, there is a death penalty for certain types of murders under federal law. I don't know if we have a federal manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide charge, but generally you have first degree murder, which is many times punishable by death if there's a death penalty in the state. Most death penalties would involve a second sort of felony in order to get the death penalty. And then you have a second degree murder, which would sort of go to, again, that intent. What did you mean to do? And it would establish penalty. But no, this is still a homicide investigation until.
That's a good question. Danica says, Will, do you think Brian told his parents the truth at the time, or they are learning how sick their son is with the rest of us? That's a really good question. I think that they know. First of all, like, I know what my son's capable of and what he's not capable of. You know what I mean? I like to think so anyway. So, you know, make no mistake. I don't think that his parents are victims of Brian. You know what I mean? I don't think so at all. If anything, I think Brian is he's a victim of his parents. In the sense that they just didn't raise him right. You know, they've bailed him out of everything. They put him in no position to have to face anything. So the bottom line is, to answer that question as best as I can, Danica, you know, if I'm a parent and my son comes to me with half truths, doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to encourage him to turn himself in, because the truth is going to set you free if you're innocent, right? It's plain and simple. I'm going to encourage my son to turn himself in. I'm going to encourage my son to face the music and deal with whatever happens. And if you're innocent, then I believe in the truth. I believe in right versus wrong. So, yeah, I think that question, you know, although it's a good question, I think that it just simply doesn't apply in the sense that you know, whether or not they're discovering as things happen and as we're discovering things, you know, they still know more than we do. They know their son. You know what I mean? And they've already gone this far in making excuses for him and covering for him. So, you know, yeah, there's I'm not gonna allow there to be any implication that they're victims of him as well as anybody else. I'm not gonna do that. I think they're way too accountable.
We have a suspect who is charged with anything that I just mentioned. You're not going to be charged with homicide. You're going to be charged with either a federal crime or a state crime, and it'll tell us at that point whether or not it's a murder investigation. We don't have that yet. We have a person of interest, and we have a suspect in a credit card fraud case.
Let's get to this one here from, and I'm trying to get to as many here as possible, and some of them are repeating, but you know, we got to bring this. I talk all the time on the stream about being rooted in reality, and then of course I always talk about the realm of possible, right? What is within the realm of possible, and what is not within the realm of possible? And people don't want to. It's difficult because there's some people that don't want to consider certain possibilities, but are they technically within the realm of possible? How about Amanda Green? #KJB, is there a way to prove it wasn't strangulation during intimacy with the two, so that down the road, if they find Brian, they can't say that it was an accident?
Because, I mean, that's not something I'm unfamiliar with. I've been asked during coitus to choke. I've been asked to do that. Of course, I have common sense. I'm not trying to actually asphyxiate someone when I do that. It's just someone asks me to do that and it turns them on, and I would be remiss if I did not do what I needed to in order to get my partner off. But the fact is, that's a possibility. That is still a possibility that's on the table. But the reason why I don't think that that's very likely in the slightest bit is because he lawyered up and ran. Okay? If that happened to me, I'd be like, listen, this is what happened. Sorry, your daughter's a freak. Okay? That's what happened. Your daughter's a freak. Okay? I do what I do to make her feel good. It's what she likes. I'm not going to judge her. I'm her man. I'm supposed to support her, love her, give her what she wants. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay? I'm sorry to let you know that your daughter's a freak. It was an accident. So, okay, if I got to go to trial, then I'll go to trial. But that's not the case here. That's not the case here.
Accident, and they couldn't determine, or they couldn't say there in the press conference, as I understand, if I remember correctly from my notes here, I'm looking at my notes, that there was nothing that they could say as far as publicly whether or not there was the intent and whether or not it could have been accidental strangulation and whether or not there was a device involved. But could it have been strangulation during intimacy between the two? I'm sure that investigators have to consider that within the realm of possible, as unlikely as it might be.
Well, it would be a potential defense, but keep in mind, nobody has to prove what it wasn't. The government has to prove what it was. Is.
Yeah.
And the defense attorney's
Exactly.
job, they don't have to prove that so-and-so did not do something. They put out their various, they can put out theories in a case. I remember a Southern attorney once calling them rabbit trails. They want the prosecution, not the prosecution. They want to send the jury down a rabbit trail. You could send the jury, and that's not, it could be strangulation during this, who knows? But the point is that would be a possible defense.
We always talk about,
I hate this guy.
The realm
I
of
hate
possible,
this guy.
right? What is within the realm of possible and what is not within the realm of possible. And people don't want to, it's difficult because there are some people that don't want to consider certain possibilities, but are they technically within the realm of possible? How about Amanda Green? #KJB, is there a way to prove it wasn't strangulation during intimacy with the two? So that down the road, if they find Brian, they can't say that it was an accident, and they couldn't determine, or they couldn't say there in the press conference, as I understand, or if I remember correctly from my notes here, I'm looking at my notes, that there was nothing that they could say as.
She doesn't strike me. Let me not go there.
As far as publicly, whether or not there was the intent and whether or not it could have been accidental strangulation and whether or not there was a device involved. But could it have been strangulation during intimacy between the two? I'm sure that investigators have to consider that within the realm of possible, as unlikely as it might be.
Well, it would be a potential defense, but keep in mind, nobody has to prove what it wasn't. The government has to prove what it was. Is.
Yeah.
And the defense attorney.
Now let me make a good point here, guys, because I make this point all the time. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. They have to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt exactly how this murder took place. It's on them to do that. That's not an easy task, guys. That's not an easy task in the slightest bit. Understand that. Like, I want you guys to mentally prepare yourselves for the possibility, okay? I want you guys to mentally prepare yourselves for the possibility that Brian Laundrie just might get away with this. Casey Anthony did. OJ did. Doesn't matter what we know, okay? It's like Denzel said in Training Day, right? It's not what you know, it's what you can prove, right? That is the reality of the situation. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove in a court of law. So be ready for that, guys. Be ready for that. I don't like it any more than you do, but be ready for it.
His job. They don't have to prove that so and so did not do something. They put out their various. They can put out theories in a case. I remember
and understand also. A defense attorney, all they have to do is create doubt, and the best way, the most effective way. History and real crime teaches us, people, right? History and real crime teaches us that an attorney, what they do in order to create reasonable doubt in a juror's mind, one juror out of 12, because that's all it takes. One juror out of 12. All it takes is to create doubt in one of those jurors' minds. And the way to do that, the classic way to do it, is to just create a bunch of crazy ass scenarios, throw them out there, right? Just crazy ass wild scenarios. Like Casey Anthony. Oh, Casey Anthony's dad molested her when she was a kid. Blah, blah, blah. The kid drowned in the pool. Casey Anthony's dad said, let's get rid of the body. You can't prove that, Casey. This is the whole thing that I was trying to, like, I realized Josh, when he was covering the Casey Anthony case, he was like, I don't understand how the jury didn't see that this was proof. Okay, no. What you have to understand is they failed to prove, the prosecution failed to prove the cause of death. They failed to prove how the body got to where it was. You have to prove that stuff. They failed to prove that stuff. If you lack proof, you cannot convict somebody on speculation. You just can't. You can't convict somebody on coincidence. You cannot convict somebody on circumstance. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can. Tennessee happens to be a state where you can convict on circumstantial evidence, because the circumstantial evidence, the evidence that convicted Joe Clyde Daniels, or Joe Ray Daniels, of Joe Clyde Daniels' death, the evidence that convicted him was all circumstantial. There was no solid evidence. And his lawyer sucked, by the way. Joe Ray Daniels' lawyer was an idiot. He was a moron. And his whole defense for his client was that they didn't bother looking for a missing child. They just focused all their energy on Joe Ray Daniels, where the prosecution proved, or I should say disproved, that theory. I mean, they showed data. They showed data that they searched for this child. The helicopter patterns that they showed a diagram of the helicopter patterns of the area. This child was searched for. Make no mistake about that. So, but my point being is it depends on the state, but you can convict somebody on circumstantial evidence. But the thing is they're not going to look for circumstantial evidence. They're going to collect circumstantial evidence, but what the gold mine is solid evidence. And the difference between the Joe Clyde Daniels case and this case is we still don't have a body for Joe Clyde Daniels. We have a body for Gabby Petito. There's a lot of evidence on a dead body.
Remember a Southern attorney once calling them rabbit trails. They want the prosecution, not the prosecution. They want to send the jury down a rabbit trail. You could send the jury, and that's not, it could be strangulation during this. Who knows? But the point is that would be a possible defense. But the government is going to set up a case to prove what it was. They're not going to worry about what it wasn't.
Right. It's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And but quite frankly, when you look at the Moab incident and you look at the evidence of there being domestic disputes between Gabby Petito and between Brian Laundrie here, it's just, again, Walt makes a good point. Does it get used as a potential defense?
It is circumstantial.
Courtroom, if this ever does reach a trial, that would be, of course, up to Stephen Bertolino if he is in fact.
All right. All right, guys. I'm happy that I got to go on early, and I appreciate everybody joining me tonight. All the new members and all the new Patreon members, welcome. I appreciate everybody joining in. I appreciate all your support. Please like this video. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. We need to get the word out on Brian Laundrie. We need to get his face out there. Okay, this guy needs to get caught. Like I said before, make no mistake. This is a focus of DV awareness. Okay, it's, if nothing else, a focus of DV awareness. This is a case where we saw firsthand that DV has gone way too far. And we're seeing a textbook narcissistic asshole behaving in the worst possible expected way that a narcissistic asshole would, which is lawyering up, shutting down, getting mommy and daddy to cover for him. That's where we're at, guys. Okay? If there's any case that should bring up DV awareness in this country or in this world, it's this case. That's the focus of this case. That is the reason behind the focus of this case. Don't let anybody tell you any different. That is exactly what this is. If you or anybody that you love or even know, and you're seeing any type of red flags that could be a DV situation, report it, because you could be saving their life. Report it. Let the authorities deal with it, but report it. Anyways, guys, I love you guys very, very much, and we will do this again very, very soon, my friends.